podcast. Good song.
Yeah, this sounds like something carrots could grow to.
Crunch into us.
What's up, Doc? What are we doing?
I don't know.
Fuck them.
Crunch.
I want to talk about something. I'm going to start off like this. You don't have to put this in, but I watched Spider-Man 2 last night.
Amazing, or?
And it is the greatest movie I've seen of 2016.
Spider-Man 2? Like the Tobey Maguire one?
Yeah, if you'll recall. And I think I may, in a comic book sense, have enjoyed it more than The Dark Knight. Like, I love The Dark Knight, and I would say it's probably the better movie. And I would definitely, I enjoy it every time I watch it. But seeing Spider-Man 2 again, after so many years of not seeing it, and so many years of kind of it ending on a sour note with Spider-Man 3 and me kind of just not giving a crap
shit about the
it.
franchise.
Yeah, honestly, that's kind of what happened. It was like franchise fatigue set in, and I forgot that it was a thing. I mean, the movie came out 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. So, all of a sudden, I popped it in. I don't remember why. I was just like, I haven't seen this in a long time. When I was a kid, I didn't like it as much just because...
Yeah, I remember you said that.
Yeah, like, it was really slow as a kid, like, for me. But watching it again, like, the effects still hold up, and it is majestic, the way he swings around, and just Dr. Octopus's background, and all the personal shit that they're both dealing with.
Yeah.
It is amazing and astounding and super well done. So, good job, Sam Raimi. What I was going to say is it has all the hallmarks of a Sam Raimi movie. Like, every single shot is exactly, like, the editing and the pacing and the music and the effects are all so, like, Evil Dead. Like, it's like watching a big-budget Evil Dead, but with Spider-Man as the main character and not Ash.
Yeah, man. I will stand by that. I think Spider-Man 2 is fantastic.
That train fight that they have is
great.
Phenomenal. There's, like, scenes where he's, like, spinning webs for people who are falling off the train.
Yeah, it's great.
And the camera doesn't even focus on that. It's just like on the train, and you just kind of see it in the corner. This like
and then,
giant
like
effect.
A big car that's like stuck in a web so it doesn't hit someone.
Exactly.
Like, dude, it's
cool.
Good.
So good. And it's so disappointing. This ties into that It conversation a little bit about how we live in a world where this simply will never be. And Spider-Man 4 was so close to coming together with John Malkovich as the villain, Anne Hathaway. Anne Hathaway had signed on to be in that movie.
I remember when we saw The Amazing Spider-Man in theaters.
Yeah.
And I was like, so what did you guys like more, The Amazing Spider-Man or Spider-Man? And then everyone unanimously was like, The Amazing Spider-Man. I was like, I don't know. I think that first one's still pretty classic, like the Tobey Maguire. I mean, granted, Andrew Garfield is a better Spider-Man.
I don't even know anymore. Like, I think that the reason we all said it was better at the time was because it was
new.
It was new, and it was less campy. I mean, the original Spider-Man movies are pretty campy still.
Oh, they're pretty campy.
But I think if you rewatch them again...
You have a teenage high school... It's a comic book movie,
exactly.
goddammit. It's supposed to be campy. That can be campy.
I agree.
And I'm very interested to see what happens with Spider-Man in Civil War.
Yeah, I am I'm very curious. I think his outfit looks really cool.
Outfit looks cool.
A lot of people are not into it, but I think it looks very
The outfit's
interesting.
fine.
Yeah.
I think for people to see a trailer and dwell on what
the outfit, yeah.
It's like, shut the fuck up.
I do think
it's Spider-Man being brought into this universe. It's going to be fun.
Brilliant marketing move by Disney also to include him in the last 2 seconds of footage.
Yeah.
And in those 2 seconds, I mean, there are so many images up on the internet just from those 2 seconds of footage that he's on there, just dissecting it down to the pixel, trying to figure things out. So
what can you figure out?
Yeah, I mean, it's true.
Okay, he's clearly on Tony Stark's side.
Yep, you can tell
and he's Spider-Man.
Tony Stark helped him out with the suit, though. You can tell too.
Ooh, how's that?
Spider-Man's eyes move, so you can tell there's
they're bionic.
Exactly.
Oh, I did notice that.
Yep.
They didn't make the connection.
My question now is, are they going to use the web, the natural web shooters like Sam Raimi, or are they going to go for the mechanical style?
Well, they'll go mechanical because Tony Stark helped with that.
See, that's my thought. But my other thought is, and I do think that's what they're going to do, but since Amazing Spider-Man already was trying to differentiate themselves by putting in the mechanical web shooters. Maybe it'll like volley back and forth. So hey, they're like, oh, let's go back to the biological.
It'd be cool if he could do both. I mean, that'd be an interesting incorporation. Like he has that natural power after being. I like how my hands went to the Spider-Man. Yeah. He has that natural thing that he can do, and then Tony Stark's like, well, why don't you just like load up like breastfeeding milk into bottles, and then it's a good analogy.
Yeah.
But load it up into the shooter, and then you can spray it that way.
No matter what.
Like it's natural, but it's in reserves.
It's in reserve, so you don't run out.
We're gonna start the hashtag titty milk. Titty milk web slingers.
So please go at Kerrit pod, hashtag, what was it?
Titty milk web slingers.
That's a mouthful. So that's cool.
So trailers, I mean, that's an interesting...
Trailers are an interesting concept. Let's see, what are good? I think that American Sniper had an amazing movie trailer, and the movie was terrible.
That's a good point. It's basically like what is most marketable. It's not marketing the movie, it's what will make people want to see it.
Exactly.
Which is a bummer because, Jesus Christ, the Dawn of Justice trailer.
It looks great. I think it looked great.
It looks great, but it blows so many things.
I mean,
like, you see a lot of shit.
You do. It gives away the whole damn thing.
You see Superman and Batman teaming up. You see Wonder Woman being introduced. Even though the movie is called Batman versus fucking Superman. Mm-hmm. You have the resolution between the two characters.
In the trailer.
In the trailer! Are you kidding me?
Dude, you have General Zod's corpse they reveal,
General
so you
Zod's
know that
corpse,
figures in somehow.
And then it's gonna create what's
Darkseid?
Dark
I think
Side.
that's what people are calling him. I don't know if that's official or not, but you see the big monster at the end reveal.
And then
you see Kryptonite being discovered by Lex Luthor as well.
You see Superman pretty much crying at one point in the new trailer.
There's a lot of things that they give away.
Fuck you. And then reviews are great.
No,
early
they're
reviews.
Not. And they're not.
On IMDb?
Maybe by
like
users.
Like a 9.3 from users.
By users. It has a 37% on Rotten Tomatoes based on like 70
new.
reviews.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So it's getting... The weird thing is, like, sometimes when I'm reading brief reviews... I will kind of gather an idea of what the movie is going to be like, because I've seen so many movies that I'm just kind of like, oh, I see what you're saying, and I can tell I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
But based on the positive and the negative reviews of Batman vs. Superman, it sounds at least intriguing still, so I'm still like, this sounds cool, I don't understand.
That's something that's fascinating with me, is that you do read reviews, and then when you see a review that says a movie's shit, you're like, yeah, but it still sounds good.
Yeah.
Like, I think when you read a review and you see something that's negative, you're like, that's a positive for me.
Yeah, it can't, like, yeah, it's, I wish I had a better, another example where that happened. Like, I can't think of a movie offhand that got, like, pretty negative reviews, but I was still like, no way, this is awesome. Like, because we live in an age where that is happening more and more.
Well, dude, Leonard Maltin walked out of Zoolander 2. Did you read that?
I did read that.
He said that's the only movie I've walked out of. I'm like, fucking, really?
That's
you hated it that much?
Because there are way more movies I'd walk out of before that.
And so many more
Zookeeper
movies.
with Kevin James was the worst. Grown Ups 2 was terrible.
Agreed.
Horrible movie. And yeah, he walks out of Zookeeper 2.
I wish some people would have died in that fucking movie.
And then stayed dead. Fucking no more Kevin James.
Oh my God.
I'd be fine with that. I mean...
You didn't see Here Comes the Boom?
I did see Here Comes the Boom.
How was it?
I remember thinking, this is better than it has any right to be, and then I promptly forgot every single thing about the movie.
Okay.
I do know that Kevin James, like, got in shape for the role, and I respected him for that,
And
because...
then he gained a bunch of it back?
Yeah, but, like, that I care less about.
Yeah.
Because, like, you see... Because that's commitment. Like,
Why didn't they give it to a skinny guy?
Like, Kevin James went out there and he was like, I'm going to lose this weight and I'm going to look like a UFC fighter, sort of. And it worked because he committed. Unlike Adam Sandler, who, like, doesn't do anything differently ever.
That's true.
So, and it reflected in the fact that the movie was okay versus complete shit.
Ridiculous 6?
I kind of liked Ridiculous 6.
You shitbag.
Have you seen it?
No, I saw parts of it.
I think...
My dad showed me parts of it.
Well, I don't want to get too off course, but we need to address this because I'm super into Netflix original movies right now, and I never thought I would be, but all of a sudden when that movie came out, it dawned on me, oh my God, I'm at home, this movie is on Netflix, it's brand new, and it's like the first of its kind. It's the first, like, major Netflix movie. Beast of No Nation may have been released before or after, I don't remember. But aside from that, this is like the first movie they made specifically. They made a deal with a major star to make movies for their streaming service. And I had to see it for curiosity's sake. And because it was free, because it was like a Netflix thing, because I was at home, I don't know why, because it was technically above average of the last like 5 Adam Sandler movies.
Did you see The Cobbler?
No, I did not.
Did you start it at all?
I saw bits and pieces when my sister was watching it. I had no interest in finishing it. And that's not because it looked bad or was bad from what I saw. It's just I didn't feel like watching it.
Gotcha.
But whereas Ridiculous 6 has a different... Like, Ridiculous 6 has a concept that appeals to me more. It's a Western with an all-star cast. I mean, that's funnier than a guy who like steps into other people's shoes and becomes them.
Well, I think The Cobbler was marketed poorly because it's not a comedy.
Did you see it?
I started it. I think I watched 20 minutes. It's actually not bad.
Because I am
It's
curious.
not a comedy.
I mean, when I saw it, it didn't look as bad as what I had heard.
Yeah.
Though nonetheless, my interest was not
And
there.
once again, its critics just, it's another thing. Like, they pick something to hate and then hate. It's bullying. It's fucking bullying. That's the same thing that bullies do. Oh, you're wearing glasses? 4 eyes. Piece of shit, 4 eyes.
Yeah.
Fucking idiot. Get some contacts, 4 eyes. Like, Jesus Christ, I just see better than you. That's what glasses do.
That's all. We don't see better. We see the same now.
You see better.
You think so?
I think you do.
That means I think you need glasses. I think.
Were you talking?
What?
I think I need a hearing aid, too.
Ah, damn.
No. Well, I don't know.
It's okay.
Kevin's wearing glasses right now. That's the first thing I saw.
Yeah,
on him, so
I don't know if
picked
you
on
guys know this. Oh, wait, we have a picture up that shows me in glasses.
Yeah,
I
for
totally
sure.
wear glasses. People
totally
know that.
does.
I have 4 eyes. I don't care.
You had contacts for a while.
I did, and I got way lazy. You know how hard... I mean, it's not hard to put them in, but my eyes are dry in the morning, and...
Yeah.
I mean, no thanks.
Dry eyes. That's you.
Oh, I can't answer this right now.
Who is it?
It's my sister.
You can answer it if you want to.
No,
I'll cut
because
this out.
it's going to end up being like 10 minutes, even if I am trying to get off the phone. I'm going to be like, because it just kind of ends up like that, you know? I mean, it's not a bad thing. I mean, I'm okay with that, but...
I'll cut all this.
Okay.
No, what were we saying? We were talking about Ridiculous 6. So yeah, Ridiculous 6.
So, that is to say that... And then Pee-wee's Big Holiday came out, and that's another Netflix original movie, and I loved that.
Cool.
And so... I'm in this phase now where any Adam Sandler movie, any movie that comes on Netflix, I'm going to watch, and there's going to be a predisposition to enjoy it more because I have the ability to watch it on my own time with just my own thoughts, no one else having to influence me.
I like that.
So, I mean, Ricky Gervais has a new movie coming out on Netflix. I don't know if you know about that. It's at the end of April. It's with Eric Bana. It actually looks really funny.
Interesting.
Yep.
I think Ricky Gervais is someone who's really up their own ass.
I can't tell how I feel about him.
I don't really like him.
Well, I think, like, a lot of people hated when he hosted the Golden Globes because he's such a quote-unquote asshole.
That's not why. I think he's very funny, but his atheism gets on my fucking nerves.
Oh, okay.
I think anyone who's an atheist that is so who's so just like, there is no God and you're stupid for believing. It's like, no, you need to understand from other people's perspectives and why they think that way.
See, I've not heard anything about this.
It's pretty bad. Like, his Twitter is just filled with it. I unfollowed him. He's all over interviews and stuff like that. It's just really in your face. And I'm like, you are making a bad name for atheists the same way that Christians make a bad name for Christians. It's fucking irritating.
I had no idea.
I hate anyone who is that, like, someone said one point, they were like, for not believing in God, it's something that they talk about way too much, like atheists. And I was like, yeah. That's pretty much.
I mean, it
a lot of them do. So,
but I mean, at the same time, maybe they're talking about it because they're in the minority and they're always faced with these imagery of Christ. I mean, religious holidays.
I get it. It can be annoying for sure, but it's.
And he is a celebrity, and I'm only playing devil's advocate here, but like, he has a ton of followers, so he's able to like express his opinion more than anybody else.
Well, it's annoying to me because I'm like on the same side basically, but at the same time, I'm just like, you don't know any more than anybody else does, so I don't know. It's just not how I would go about it. But fucking.
I understand. I wouldn't do that, and I'm neither here nor there. Mm-hmm. And I think I really think atheism is kind of weirder than Christianity. I'd
rather be a Satanist, to be completely honest with you.
Dude, I'm getting to a point where, like, people... people that are atheists are definitely as bad as people that are Christians. I mean,
For sure.
duh. Like, and I tried to explain that once to an atheist. I was like, you do realize that you're just subscribing to a belief, and it's you're saying the exact same thing you're saying. It's impossible to know.
Yeah.
Could easily be applied to what you're saying. They're like, yeah, but like world is random and there's no evidence. It's like, yeah, I know, I get it.
So
I
technically,
get
you're a
it.
nihilist. You're not actually an atheist. You realize that, right? And then
Dude.
they're just like, I don't, what? I love crushing people's beliefs.
But I'm still excited. I think we should definitely do an update on Batman vs Superman when we because I'm seeing it this weekend.
Oh, you are? When are you seeing
heck
it?
yeah. I'm seeing it Saturday morning.
Saturday morning, I am not doing shit.
No
Saturday
way.
morning. You
What
want
are
to
you
go
doing?
see it?
Oh heck yeah. My thing is I love getting really drunk on like a Friday night and then going to see the newest big budget action extravaganza as early as possible on that Saturday. And it has to be that recipe. I mean,
I like that.
It's hard to do it any other way. I did this with Iron Man 3. I did this with like most movies that are
Superhero movies.
yeah, they're
or
just
sequels.
They're perfect to see really early and really hungover.
Did you see Age of Ultron that way?
No, I saw that. Well, first I saw it on bootleg. I think I'm allowed to say that.
We watched it together on bootleg. I got it from the library.
Yeah, we got it from the
And,
library from Croatia, and good thing we have a library card over there in Croatia.
They just mail it to me, and they're like, I don't know how much stamps are.
Yep.
It's a terrible accent. I don't even know.
I don't know what Croatian sound is. Like Russian, Slovenian.
No, I think it's in Indian. It's close to Indian.
Yeah, sure. That's.
I'm a racist, and that feels great.
But so I watched it the first time then, and I think I was so overwhelmed with excitement that my minor disappointment with the movie I thought was because of the quality of the movie.
And then you saw it.
And then I saw it like the day it came out on a Friday, I'm pretty sure, as early as possible. And like, I was like, oh man, my thought at that time, because I still had mixed feelings about it, was, well, I did just see this like 5 days ago. So I kept trying to like
rationalize it in your head.
Exactly. And I haven't seen it since then. I've been kind of afraid to, because I'll rationalize it even more, or I'll truly understand that I didn't like it.
Well, it's either one of two things, or it's both. I guess it could be these two. So Joss Whedon lost creative control, basically.
Yeah.
Where the studio's like, put this in, put that in.
They Spider-Man 3'd it.
Exactly, and that happens with so many franchises. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, obviously Spider-Man was a good example. I think that happens with James Bond movies to an extent.
I would say so. The notes for Spectre leaked.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
When? During the Sony?
The Sony thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was not aware
Well,
of
they're
that.
the ones that are like, make there be some sort of connection with Bond and, Blofeld.
Wow.
Like, make it so, like, we care about it.
I
Like,
hate Sony so much.
well, I mean, it makes sense because the other shit they had was terrible.
Maybe you should make Blofeld related to Daniel Craig. It's like, maybe you don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you're the worst. I feel like they just kind of somehow succeeded because Will Smith was alive in the 90s.
Yeah.
I feel like they must have done
I
a
could
lot of
see
his
that.
movies, or at least a decent amount. Men in Black, I know, was Sony, or at least Columbia. Columbia's Sony, right?
Columbia Pictures and TriStar were the same, weren't they?
Yeah, but I
And
thought...
Sony joined Columbia in, like, right before Spider-Man, didn't it?
Dude, I don't know. Because, like...
Whatever, there's 6 corporations that own the world.
Exactly. They're all related. That's like when you said XM and Sirius were
NBC
the same thing.
owns GE. Or GE, I'm sorry, GE owns NBC, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's all just a big smorgasbord of people eating each other. It's like a snake that like eats its tail.
Which
whatever
is
that thing
interesting because Marvel is
Disney,
but owned by Disney.
Yeah.
And Disney owns a shit ton of shit.
ABC.
But basically everything that Disney puts out is quality product.
Mostly.
That some people really enjoy.
I do think product should be underlined there because
Yeah.
some of their movies are, I think, amazing and somehow transcend, and I use that word twice. That's another thing I noticed in my notes, is that I end up using one word a few times throughout our podcast. But in this case, it really makes sense. A couple of those movies transcend that Disney product boundary, like Captain America Winter Soldier, and it's just a crazy, awesome movie. And most of them are definitely good, and they're always going to be moneymakers, but they are, in the end, like, kind of wishy-washy.
For sure.
So...
Well,
but yeah, quality products nonetheless. I mean, I loved Ant-Man, I must say.
Ant-Man. Oh, I keep forgetting about that one. That was like one of the best.
I loved it. I did.
That's
I saw
one
it
of the
twice,
best.
and the second time I saw it, I was like, this holds up. Like this, it's not like it doesn't move the world, but it is a solid night. Like
It's
I'm
a great,
down to watch that.
Great movie.
Yep.
I can't think of anything wrong with it.
Yeah. I know. It's just kind of like.
Do you remember the conversation we had one time? I think it was you and I about how I said sometimes when I see a movie, I try and find out what's wrong with it. Does that sound familiar at all?
It kind of does.
Okay. Do you understand what I mean by that or no?
I feel like if we had this conversation, I would have said that's not how you should approach a movie.
I think that is what you said, yeah. It's not how I approach a movie, but it's how I, like if I see a good movie, I don't know. Like I think about it after the fact. It's like, was there anything I didn't like about it? I guess think so. But if there's something that's completely apparent, then, you know.
Yeah, it kind of depends. Like, if I'm really not enjoying the movie, which doesn't happen very often, because if I paid to see it, then I definitely wanted to see
invested,
it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Even if it's like a movie like Batman vs. Superman that's getting pretty poor reviews, if I go in and I start to dislike it, I'll still be like, I'll recognize that, and I'll start like saying, wait a minute, why did this happen? Wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. But it takes a lot for me to get there, and I wouldn't consciously do it until... I mean, I don't think I would ever consciously do it. Just kind of start happening on its own. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. But, like, usually I'm just so invested. You're right. Invested is a good word. I just love what's happening. If they set the right tone and the world building is, like, good enough, then I'm in.
I think it's one of those talking point things, maybe. Like, you try and seek out things that you really liked about it or something that you didn't like about it as, like, a talking point with other people. I think that's one of the main reasons.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you and I bullshit on a movie and, like, we have things that we really liked about it and we have things that we didn't like about it. Like, fucking Spectre.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't... I saw it and I was like, okay, so what's one thing that I don't like about it? I can't really think of anything because I enjoyed it when I saw it. And then the more you and I talked, the more I was just like, I didn't really like that. But...
I think... talking points are funny. That's actually why people go see movies with other people.
Yeah, for sure.
I so often go alone.
I like seeing them alone.
I love seeing them alone. I saw 10 Cloverfield Lane by myself.
How was it?
I enjoyed it a lot.
And is it a good sequel to Cloverfield?
I think you should see it. I think it's really good.
Okay.
I don't know if I would say that necessarily.
Interesting. Because it's like in a different direction.
Yeah, but it's still really good. I think that, and I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, don't, because I will see it.
I think that there's some decisions that are arguable, but it's such a solid movie for the most part, and it's refreshing to see a movie of that like caliber and scale in movie theaters that I just enjoyed it. And one of the main things I really liked was that I did see it alone. Like, I made an effort to get people together too. I was like, I hit up a ton of people. I was like, what are you doing? And randomly that night, everyone was busy, and I was pretty hungover that night, I remember. And again, this goes into the I love being hungover and seeing movies. Like that's the thing I do. It's so fun because like if you had a wild Friday night,
you just sit there and cleanse.
Yeah, just hang out and like okay, like sweet. And there had been a lot of build up around it, a lot of mystery. I wasn't sure exactly what it would be like.
Yeah.
All this stuff was in my head, and I was like, I've got to see this movie.
And you liked it.
Yeah, finally I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go see it alone, and it was amazing. And nobody sat next to me, and the whole time I was like, whoa.
There wasn't that old lady that sat right next to you.
Oh
like,
man,
that one time
Hateful
we saw.
Eight. Oh my goodness.
No, like that one time we saw Life Itself, with
Oh yeah, I remember that because there were very little people in that movie.
It was literally you and I, and then she walked in.
Yeah. She sat, what was it? A seat away?
One seat between you.
Okay, yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, what?
The whole time. I totally remember that.
And then we started laughing
shocked.
at one point.
Yeah.
I think it was when we saw him for the first time. With no jaw.
They left though. Didn't they go a few seats down or something eventually?
Dude, no.
They
it was
there?
the one lady who brought a bag of shit, and we thought we were going to get murdered.
Yeah,
and
that's
it
right.
was literally only us three.
That was such a good day. We saw another movie earlier that day, I'm pretty sure. I think we saw a movie and then we went like putt golfing or something. We did like a ton of shit. I remember that.
We went putt golfing and then I think we went and saw two movies.
We did the movie.
Snuck into the other one.
No, you
worked there.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Right.
We saw a movie and then we did the golfing and then we got ice cream and we were talking about ice cream. We were like, what are we gonna do for the night? Like, let's do something else. And we're like, let's go. We went to a completely different movie theater, so it felt like a new experience. It felt like we weren't repeating ourselves because of that.
There was something I really wanted to talk about real quick though, and it was in regards to Superman. You know what? Let's touch on this real quick though. What this means for the DC universe as a whole, real quick. Suicide Squad is out next, and then the Wonder Woman is after that, and it's really going to be interesting to see how Warner Brothers reacts to the performance of these movies.
Yeah.
And it's going to be even more interesting to see how critics react to these movies. Because if Warner Brothers keeps getting critically derided and financially successful movies, I mean, I can't wait to see like 4 years down the road and see how they have taken both of those different factors and tried to, suss out what that means.
The thing with Marvel is that it's coming to an end.
It will be, yeah.
Marvel's whole cinematic universe is coming to an end because of after Infinity War.
Part 2.
I mean, what's next?
I mean, I know that they're going to continue it, but I do, as far as I know...
With, like, lesser heroes.
Yeah, that's what I believe.
If anything, it's going to be Spider-Man.
Yep.
Which that will be the third reboot.
Yeah.
Second reboot, technically.
Yeah, third one, second reboot. Well, then, yeah, there's, like, a lot of other people they have not yet explored. Mm-hmm. So
if they got the rights to X-Men and Deadpool and
but they're not
Fantastic
they're
Four,
just I mean
they won't.
And I think
those would be cool.
It would be cool to see them, especially interacting with all the other people they have already. I do think,
but Justice League is just beginning.
Justice League is just beginning.
This whole thing is just beginning.
Yeah.
So.
You're right. Yep, you're right. Marvel is ending, Justice League is beginning. One is critically lauded, one is critically shat upon, and it's going to be really interesting to see how it develops. I was going to say, I really want to see Batman directing, or Ben Affleck directing his own Batman movie.
Yeah,
I've heard that
that'd be
rumor.
really cool.
I think that people that took issue with the direction of Batman vs. Superman would have a much better time in a Ben Affleck directed solo Batman movie. Because he would probably do away with some of those flourishes that Zack Snyder is known for that appeal to people like you and me that see it for what it is, and it might make it a little more accessible. I do also think it's kind of funny that like Warner Brothers is really invested in trying to bring talented film and unique filmmakers to their like directing stable, unlike Marvel, who's trying to kind of just go with people that can conform to their basic idea.
Who directed a good music video in 2002?
Exactly. Right. You're hired for Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Fuck it. But whereas, they have Zack Snyder, who's definitely a unique choice, and then they have they went out of their way to hire a woman for Wonder Woman.
For Wonder Woman, I saw that.
They hired...
Which she directed Monster, right?
And that's pretty much
it. It's music videos and shit.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still excited.
No,
I'm still curious.
Videos.
She did like
TV
some...
episodes.
Yeah,
she did an episode of Arrested Development, I looked up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious about that.
Who's the director of Saw? What's his name?
James Wan doing Aquaman.
Yeah, he's doing Aquaman.
And that's a very interesting choice, I think. Like, he's had experience with big budget movies with Furious 7.
Yep, and low budget with Saw and Dead Silence, Conjuring, all the horror movies.
And I think
he can create tension.
Exactly. So, like, they... also... The one that I'm very curious about is The Flash. So this is, I guess I would say,
The Flash is also a show on CW, correct?
That's true, yeah. And
it's not the same
completely
guy.
Unrelated.
Okay.
I do think it's worth mentioning that the movie was originally going to be written and directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller,
who did the Lego movie.
They did the Lego movie. They did 21 and 22 Jump Street.
Yep.
Every movie that they have done is
really
critically acclaimed. Everyone loves their style. They are producing The Last Man on Earth with Will Forte on Fox, which is a really unique vision for a show. I mean, it's really good. It's funny. And these are a couple of talented guys. So the only thing that... It doesn't worry me, but I wonder how this plays out because they were originally hired to do The Flash. They dropped out to do the Han Solo spin-off movie for Disney. So... Disney, of course, in charge of Marvel and in charge of Star Wars.
So they're going to be doing
it's
stuff for Disney. Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how that develops, and especially now the Flash has been handed over to a gentleman named Seth Grahame-Smith, who is mainly a writer. He wrote the books Pride and Prejudice and Zombies and Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, which both were made into movies, and he has not proven himself as a capable screenwriter, and he's never directed anything. So he is writing and directing The Flash, which I think...
I'd be worried.
It could work. I mean, it's one of those weird things that, like, it might work, especially with all these executives, like, behind it, making...
But it's not the right... executives, maybe, because Warner Brothers. I feel like if anything, Warner Brothers are the ones to be the ones that are like, you should probably shoehorn this in.
Yeah,
'cause
like
we're
throw a
trying
little-
to create a thing. It's not Zack Snyder. It's not him doing it. I would guarantee that it's Warner Brothers being like, well, we gotta create a thing and we gotta Marvel. Brr. I would bet money that it's that.
And I think you're right, but at the same time, these are the same people who gave Zack Snyder all the creative, more or less, the creative control he wanted. So they've made interesting decisions, and it's not a bad thing. Like, it's not necessarily a bad thing that they've hired a man who is inexperienced for the Flash.
What I wanted to say, Phil Lord and who's this
Chris Miller.
Chris Miller.
Yeah.
So they were working for Warner Brothers
Yep.
doing the Lego movie.
Yeah.
They're not doing Lego movie 2, right?
They're not doing the Lego Movie 2 or the Lego Batman movie. They're not involved. I think they might be in like a producing capacity.
It's just
in some way.
fascinating to me that they left a project over at Warner Brothers to go to their competition.
That's what I'm saying.
At Disney and Marvel, and
It's almost like
very weird.
in one way of looking at this event is they realized that they were going to be under too much scrutiny, and they wanted to have more of a creative outlet, and that's why they decided to move into Han Solo, because the first Star Wars movie was great, and the spin-off movies we have yet to see them, so we don't know what direction they will be.
Yep.
But it's
Wait,
obvious.
you have Rogue One and the Han Solo one.
Yep, it's going to be Rogue One coming out this year in 2017, 2018, Episode 8, and then 2019 is going to be the Han Solo movie. So they're going to have a lot of time to work on it. And
then Episode 9, right? When does that come out?
That'll be 2020.
Wow.
Wait. Sorry,
I think it's
2019. It's 19, right? Wait, so
Han Solo movie is like 2018, I would say.
Oh, you know what?
And then the third movie is 19.
Yeah, it's going to be... I'm sorry, this is getting weird because like it's a new year, and like Star Wars released at the end of 2015,
Yeah, so it's
and I'm
2016
still getting
now.
used to 2016 as a
So
year.
I know 2017 is the year that
is episode 9 or episode 8. So yeah, 2019 is
Episode
9.
9.
2018 is the Han Solo.
So there's a new movie coming out
every year for Star Wars. Yeah, that's the business.
Do you
plan.
think Rogue One will be good?
I do.
Do you think Han Solo movie will be good?
I mean, with those guys behind it, absolutely.
Cool.
I would have absolutely no interest. I mean, I would see it just because of what it is, but the hiring of those two guys means that it's gonna have a feeling. It's gonna have like it's gonna have a vision. I hate to keep we're using words over and over again here, but anytime.
But I thought Vision was Marvel Universe.
Isn't that funny though? Like, I mean, how is it that Disney owns Star Wars and
No,
Marvel?
I mean the Vision.
Oh yeah, the actual superhero. Paul Bettany coming in. He's like, oh, we gotta make sure that this Han Solo movie's good. Let's put Thor's hammer in here.
Oh my God, we've recorded for 2 hours.
Only an hour 42, and there's a solid 8 minutes of dead air. I bet you, if that means anything.
No, that's fine.
But yeah, so it's a lot like Saw 6. So
Saw 6 was good.
Think about this. Saw 6 was directed by the editor of the Saw movies, and then he was going to be stolen away by the Paranormal Activity producers to direct the second installment of Paranormal Activity. This is all several years ago. And there was a clause in his contract, and the producers of the Saw series instigated it, and he was pulled back to direct Saw 7, much to his dismay. So it's really funny how rival studios kind of fight over talent.
They're all a bunch of queers.
They're all just a bunch of fucking businessmen who just are not. They're thinking about the product. They're not thinking about the creativity of the product.
Yeah.
Generally, that's why it's so weird to see a movie like Batman vs Superman, which is obviously trying to set up a universe and yet has such a crazy singular vision that only Zack Snyder could deliver.
Yep.
So one last thing I do want to bring up. And I kind of talked with you about this earlier. So a little while ago, Steven Spielberg made some comments about how the superhero genre is going to go by way of the Western genre. So Westerns were huge in like 20s, 30s, 40s, and then kind of around, I guess, the 50s. Yeah, they fizzled out. It just wasn't as big of a thing. And he says that that's what the superhero genre is going to do as well. And he's right. I mean, there's always going to be trends like this that kind of last for like a couple decades in the movie business.
Yep.
It's kind of like shitty movies that from the 80s and the 90s. There's like Schwarzenegger in these shitty action movies.
Yeah.
That you don't,
and then those really fizzled out.
Yeah, like they aren't headlined by these big stars anymore. So my thing is, I'm kind of I don't know if I'm not worried about it, but I do wonder if Batman versus Superman is seen as the turning point, because we all know that there are a ton of superhero movies coming out from all studios. I mean, more X-Men movies, that includes Deadpool, a ton of Marvel movies, a ton of DC movies.
They're all slated for...
Yeah, there's like a lot for the next like 4 years, like 5 years even. And I wonder if people are going to see this and be like, you know what, I'm sick of this. They don't like it. They see Suicide Squad and are like, oh man, this is just like Batman vs. Superman. It has this weird tone. It's setting up other things. I'm not into it. And then they just keep...
What is
Suicide
Suicide Squad setting up?
It's not really... I think the only thing it's setting up is the villains. So like you can have all these villains introduced in one film, and then... the surviving villains don't need any introductions. You don't need a movie. You don't need a Spider-Man 2 that introduces Dr. Octopus, because he's already there.
Yeah.
I mean, Joker has already been established. Just so
Knight, yep.
I think they're just trying to kind of find an entertaining way to build villains without having to spend an entire goddamn movie to do it, which is I understandable.
Yeah.
I think. So only time will tell, but I do wonder if this is the beginning of the end.
Worst
with
heroes
this movie
ever.
Yeah. Great tagline. And Will Smith is in it, so I'm doubly concerned now. But David Ayer is directing it, and he did Fury, was the last movie, so...
It'd probably be good.
I do think it looks
Jared
good.
Leto's Joker looks good.
Yep.
I can't wait to show you my toys.
It could... I really do think it could be good. It could go... But hey, you know what? Who judges movies from trailers anymore? I'm sick of it.
We can't judge movies from trailers.
It's such a bad idea, because then you'll have a Batman versus Superman on your hands where people are like, oh, the trailers gave away too much, and blah, 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 blah.
I watched every Jurassic World trailer, and I think I'm done watching trailers now. Because I think that really kind of affected it for me.
I'm trying to think of a movie, because I mean, I know I've been in movies where it has affected. I'm like, oh my god, like, this is just awful. And I can't think of any offhand.
Master of Disguise.
Yeah, Master of Disguise gave way too much. Am I not turtle enough for the Turtle Club? This isn't funny anymore. I totally saw this.
Turtle.
Did you just tell me to? Yes. Because you can't say shut up in a movie trailer. Who knew? This is the early 2000s when you couldn't say shut up in a movie
stupid.
trailer.
So we were talking about some sequels and Dawn of Justice, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice,
Yep.
and we are going to go see that.
Yep.
And then we're going to do the second part of this episode, hopefully.
Yep, we'll talk a little bit. We'll probably do a huge episode about that, I would say.
DC Universe versus Marvel.
Yeah, the way that it's coming together, because...
It's very fitting if we're putting two superheroes together. Let's do two superpowers when it comes to movie marketing.
Exactly.
So Marvel versus DC.
And you can tell Marvel's winning, even though Warner Brothers is trying desperately to...
Desperately.
I mean, I read this online about a year and a half ago, and it has stuck with me ever since, because it is hilarious and spot on. They said putting Batman in that movie is the greatest Hail Mary pass in all of movie making.
Absolutely.
And I was like, you know what, you're right. Because Man of Steel, lukewarm reception. They're like, and Green Lantern had failed horribly.
Yeah.
So they were like, shit. Like, we had Christopher Nolan's name attached to this. We had a huge cast, all this stuff, and it was poorly received. What the hell are we going to do for a sequel? Oh, let's put Batman in it. And it's apparently still not working too well for him.
Of course, they're too eager. They're not taking time to actually...
Well, that's why...
I mean, I get Zack Snyder. I get it. He's a visionary. His directing is great. I understand, but he's writing the scripts, right?
He's not, though.
Who is?
It was Chris Terrio who won an Oscar for Argo, so everyone is hoping that when Ben Affleck was hired, he brought along this guy Chris Terrio because he knew him. So everyone's like, oh, hopefully they're going to put their DNA into it and it's going to be better because of it.
You know what, I'll be honest. I don't think it's going to be the story that is affecting this. I think it's just going to be the idea that this is... this franchise, like that's what this franchise is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no,
I guess it doesn't.
I know
make
what you mean.
sense.
It's like, no, are you suggesting that like you see Batman versus Superman, and when you pair that with Man of Steel, you're like, oh no, like the universe is gonna have like this grim aesthetic, and it's gonna be very dour.
I could see that. I also think from the trailer, like the writing sounds actually pretty good, like crisp, like the writing and dialogue scenes, like it sounds like it might be okay.
I mean,
but I think I don't know how to feel about it.
I know.
It looks okay,
I
but
think
then
it looks
reviews.
really cool. Yeah, the reviews.
What are the reviews saying?
They're bad. I mean, honestly, a lot of people.
What's wrong with it?
People are talking about the storyline and talking about how like they're putting in so many plot developments and they're not giving it time to breathe, and it's almost nonsensical occasionally.
So do you think that was the studio, or do you think that was the writer? Because if the writer wrote a good script, and then the studio's like, oh, we got to throw in Aquaman, we got to throw in, Green Lantern and all this shit.
I mean,
and Wonder Woman and Darkseid, and like, there's so many characters.
There are a lot.
This isn't even the fucking Avengers movie.
It's not Justice League.
It's not. Yeah, exactly. But Justice League will be the Avengers movie, and that's the next one, and there's 2 parts to that, and it's just the introduction to Justice League.
Yeah. So I mean,
so they're doing all of this shit wrapped up into the. Oh.
They're trying to establish a lot with Batman versus Superman because Justice League Part 1, and there are officially 2 parts.
Yeah.
But Part 1 is already filming in April, and it's coming out November 2017. So, like, it's coming up pretty quick.
God, how dumb.
I mean, only a year and a half away, and it's straight up popping into cinemas, which is, I think, pretty amazing.
And Avengers is in...
2018, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure
I'm pretty sure, too.
Because 2018, 2019.
And that's Infinity War, and that's 2 parts.
Yeah, Infinity War Part 1, Part 2.
I love that Justice League, the Part 1 and Part 2, are trying to compete with Avengers Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2.
By coming out first.
And those are the cap on the series. Once Infinity War is done, that shit is all wrapped up.
Yeah, like that's the end of that phase of Marvel.
That took, what, 10, 15
literally,
years?
Literally about 11 years.
Yeah.
Because it was 2008 was Iron Man, and then the next Avengers Infinity War Part 2 is going to be 2019.
And technically, I mean, we have no repeat characters from Green Lantern. We have no people that are continuing from that. So the beginning of Justice League is Man of Steel, correct?
Yep, Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman. And then actually, I think Wonder Woman will be coming out before Justice League Part 1.
So what does that even say? They're throwing another movie in there that's probably going to be shit.
I don't know. I mean, I hate to say, but
it could be good. But I mean, she is a woman, so.
Dude,
I'm joking.
I will say, I hate putting so much faith in Warner Brothers because I think that in general Warner Brothers is one of
they're fine.
They're one of the only big movie studios out there that are really taking more chances than you would traditionally see from like other Sony being a classic example of people not taking chances.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers is out there making Suicide Squad. They're making
Suicide Squad is part of it too.
It does look good.
Apparently, there's supposed to be Batman cameo in it.
Yeah. Yeah, but then also they're making like Mad Max. Like they're making movies. They are trying to make movies. They're just trying to find like the right talent for it to work. So
I think they have the right talent. It's just someone is getting.
It's really weird.
Is it DC? Is DC the problem?
I don't know. I mean, it's such a good question.
Because if you really look at the movies that Warner Brothers has put out, they've put out some really good movies over the course of, like you said. But there's something that happens in the midst of making like series that Warner Brothers is really attached to, like the Matrix movies. Yeah,
I mean, I just
the Christopher Nolan Batman movies.
And the really weird part is they gave like Batman vs. Superman was supposed to come out last year. Mm-hmm. So it would have been 2 years between Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman, which is much more like acceptable than between sequels than a 3 year
gap.
So with that 3rd year gap, at the beginning of production, they were like, okay, we've hired Ben Affleck, and Ben Affleck has a strong relationship with the studio, having made Argo, The Town, Gone Baby Gone.
Yep.
And he brought along the Academy Award-winning scriptwriter for Argo, and they had a relationship. So
and I honestly think Zack Snyder's a great director.
And I do too.
I really do.
So you have that, like you have Ben Affleck coming in and being like Warner Brothers golden boy at this point with his own screenwriter, and you're like, okay, they're giving an extra year and a half to the production schedule. It's gonna be 3 years, not 2. So they've given it's 3 years. We have Ben Affleck here. This has to be good. It can't not be good at this point. Like seriously, they've got the time, they've got the talent, they've got the money and the commitment to a vision, and still it's getting bad reviews. I'm not trying to prejudge this, by the way. I'm still super hyped for it, and I still think it could be good, at least for like people like me. So I'm still
I'm
very
very
excited.
excited to see this
I'm
movie.
like, this is easily one of the biggest movies I want to see this year. It's like that, Captain America. There's a few others for sure, but I'm so happy it's
so
coming
funny
out this soon.
Civil War gave away some stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man, I can't believe they put that in the
And
trailer.
War Machine, like he dies in the trailer, doesn't he?
You know, that leads me to believe that he's not going to die. I hate it when trailers do that because they're trying to fake you out. And I think that just proves that Marvel doesn't have any balls and they're not going to kill anybody in this again. That's what I think. I'm making a prediction right now.
I think they might, actually.
They might kill someone,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's going to be War Machine.
I hope it's not Hawkeye, because he has a family.
See, Jeremy Renner was dropping hints that he'd like to pop up in some of the Netflix series that Marvel is airing.
That'd be cool.
But maybe that's misdirection, you know? Maybe he is going to be the one to die. Because either him or War Machine, I mean, those seem like the most...
They did kill the fast guy in Age of Ultron.
Yeah, Quicksilver. It's because
Quicksilver.
the copyright issues with X-Men, I'm fairly certain. So X-Men Days of Future Past has a character that is the literal same character as the one in Avengers Age of Ultron, who's the super fast running guy. But Fox was allowed to use the name Quicksilver, and Avengers weren't because they're owned by two different studios. So there's a huge rights issue over this.
What was his name in Age of Ultron?
I think his like actual name was the same.
What they called him?
Like it was, I'm pretty sure they called him Pietro, like his literal name, but they didn't call him Quicksilver. They just didn't call him anything.
You just knew that he was Quicksilver.
Yep, they just called him by his first name, and then he just died before he could get the moniker.
These catty bitches.
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, you're right, they did kill him, but seriously, they never kill anybody. Iron Man 3 would have been so much better if they had killed either Jon Favreau or, if either him or Gwyneth Paltrow had died, that movie would have made so much more sense.
Yeah, she's like a superhero now, right?
And then, no, because in the last 5 minutes, he relieves her of the serum that had invaded her bloodstream and turned her into a superhero. That
would have been awesome if she was that, and that she was part of the Avengers.
Well, and the other fact that would support my argument is that Infinity Wars Part 1 and 2, I heard feature 68 characters, like 68 major characters, and that's a lot of characters. Like, it's got to be War Machine and Hawkeye have got to be in there.
For sure.
Because I don't know who the hell else they'd put in there.
I don't know, man. There's a lot.
There are, but
I'm excited for the Guardians of the Galaxy mashup and the sequel.
I can't
it's
wait.
Gonna be so good.
I can't wait to see Guardians in their sequel and in the Avengers universe. I don't know what they're gonna do, and I'm so curious about it.
I just want to see Chris Pratt act with Robert Downey Jr.
Dude, it's gonna be
That'll
great.
be so cool.
I know, and they're filming the new Avengers in all IMAX, so that's gonna be a trip to see that on fucking IMAX, dude.
These movies are exciting.
They
These
are
such escape.
I'm
from
so
reality.
excited.
It's so fun.
I'm so excited. It's gonna be great. So we'll talk about something real quick. Okay,
I don't think we need to.
we don't need to. Let's not do it then.
No. Batman versus Superman.
Hey, guys.
Dawn of Justice.
Welcome to the Kerrit Podcast.
Episode something.
Something for sure. I bet it's a number. I'll tell you
I
that
think
much.
it's episode 6. It'll be episode 6.
It probably will be. But hey, you know what? We're here to talk about a topic that applies to all of us. Batman versus
Superman.
Dawn of
Captain Marvel. Oh, I'm
Close.
Justice.
Very, yeah, it was right there. 2 words instead of one, and you know.
Well, I should have said Captain Marvel instead of Superman.
True. Captain Marvel is similar to Superman also. If you look at comic book lore, we probably will be touching on comic book lore also, because apparently that's an issue now with movies.
Yeah.
I don't know why that still is.
I mean, people know that, like, if you see a movie that's based on a book or based on something else, there's going to be discrepancies, there's going to be differences, and people get so hung up on how it's not the same.
It's an adaptation, people.
Oh my God,
it's based on the comics. Based.
No.
Not the exact thing. How can you imagine fitting an exact comic into a movie? It would be impossible. It'd be 10 hours long. It would be
impossible.
It'd be impossible.
It'd be,
It wouldn't be good.
I guess we're recording this on Easter Sunday. We saw the movie, and the previous episode is us speculating a little bit about the movie, and then the
pre-speculation,
a little bit of comic book lore and stuff like that, and then we saw it, and now we're like, wow.
Yeah, because when we were speculating,
way wrong.
Yeah, we had been talking about how it had gotten incredibly low scores critically. And so we were like very apprehensive, at least I was, honestly.
Dude, I walked in with a 0% in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I walked in thinking to myself, this is going to be just a mind-numbing, I don't know, just something that won't work.
Yeah.
In fact, perhaps we should really quickly just state what we
Yeah,
thought about the
we
movie,
should
like
really.
a thesis statement on how we felt about it. And if you wanna go first?
I don't even know if I could put it in a sentence. I don't think I could put it in a thesis.
I'll try to go first just
Yeah,
to
go
give you
first.
an idea, okay?
You got this.
So, Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. In just a really quick, to state my personal opinion, I thought it was an incredibly creative movie made by a lot of people and a lot of talented people invested in a positive outcome, and I believe that it was like one final edit away from being a total masterpiece, like touchstone superhero movie
Yep.
for the ages. I really do.
And I will build off that, and I think the reason that it needs that slight editing is because of the, Aquaman, the Flash, all that stuff shoehorned in to make it open for Justice League.
Yep.
Which there's going to be a 3-hour director's cut released to DVD and Blu-ray in June.
July, I heard,
July.
yep.
In July. So I think when that's released, that'll make this movie look better.
Yep.
It's a fucking good movie.
It
I think
is.
that's how I would sum it up. I really enjoyed it. I thought it's getting way too much backlash from critics, and I don't understand it.
Yeah, I think I really don't either. I know
I don't
that
get it
There
at all.
are issues. I do believe there are issues with the movie.
For sure, but
I would say
just as many issues as there were with, Dark Knight Rises.
I mean,
but
yeah.
this is way better than Dark Knight Rises, and that has a huge rating on fucking Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, and Metacritic.
Absolutely.
Everyone loved that movie, and it was shit.
It's funny because we
that
talked
had
about
a
that
fucking
too.
shooting at the premiere.
Yeah.
and that has a better rating than this movie, where nothing bad happened. Jesus,
Dude, we talked about that. Remember,
Yeah.
we said there's no way it could be worse than Dark Knight Rises, and it wasn't.
No,
it
it
was
was
way
way
better,
better.
way better than the Dark Knight Rises.
Oh my God.
At least Dark Knight. I will say this: I think both of those movies, from like a certain arguable standpoint, the main issue that's wrong with them is that they're both directed by somebody with a vision. So like Christopher Nolan, it's way too much of a Christopher Nolan movie. And Zack Snyder, you could say it's way too much of a Zack Snyder movie.
Yeah.
And yet somehow the Zack Snyder version, the world that he built seemed like more like apt to have these certain characteristics, like weird dream sequences
Yeah.
and like trying to shoehorn in a
but
new universe.
the thing with Dark Knight Rises is like none of it works.
None of it worked.
None of it works.
It was far
it's-
more convoluted, I thought.
It's convoluted. The plot is dumb. You have Bane, who is automatically a really good villain, and then all of a sudden not.
relegated to background second banana villain.
Yeah, dude. And then the same thing with his voice. I mean, I really enjoyed the voice, but you had to see it like 8 times for actually to understand it.
And actually, when I started watching it again, I thought his voice was horribly done. I remember like
Interesting.
hearing
Okay.
that when it came out, like, oh, you can't, like, some people loved it, some people hated it. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, it's whatever. But you watch it again, you're like, wow, this is not going to stand the test of time. I mean,
No,
personally, I don't think it will.
It won't. And I feel, oh, man, it's just such a bummer because that movie is how that series ends. And then
Yeah.
you have it restarting with this, and everyone's like, oh, they fucked up Batman. No, they didn't. Batman was the best thing in this movie.
In fact, let's talk about this real quick. Let's get it right out of the way. I need to say that, like, I do not care that Batman kills people in this movie.
I don't either. I
don't
could
care.
give a
Superman kills
shit.
people. This is the world that they've established, and they are like
They're sticking to
that's
their
part
guns.
of the tone, and that's part of the conversation of the movie itself. It's like they live in this world where they're kind of like they have to make these decisions, and that's just what it is.
Oh, and by the way, I want to throw this out there. Avengers has killed so many people
Yeah.
with their destruction of cities, too. What, because it's not a real city that you remember because you didn't hear much about the Avengers? So this is...
I mean, the first Avengers took place in New York.
In New York
and
City, yeah.
Shit was falling everywhere. Debris was falling. People died. I
But
mean,
it's, the contrast is higher. It's a nicer, lighter tone, so people don't get killed.
there's more
What
joking
the
between
fuck
Captain
ever?
America and Iron Man, so it makes it okay.
Come on.
I want to also state real quick, we will be going into spoilers for Batman
Oh,
vs. Superman.
it's already happened,
Yeah.
right?
Well, not a ton.
I'll put an addression.
Okay, an addressing.
Yeah, just
Okay.
move on. That's not a word.
So, because
Discretion.
I want to continue with this Avengers comparison that you
Yeah.
did. If you watch Avengers: Age of Ultron,
when the city is being floated into the air, they're trying to evacuate the entire city, and they blatantly state, we evacuated the whole city, so it's totally okay when it explodes. Don't worry, guys.
Yeah, as if that's
fine.
not over the top.
Yeah, you can fucking evacuate an entire city in
Well,
the amount
there's
of
the
time
part
they did.
at the end where doesn't Wonder Woman ask Batman why we're here in that part of Gotham, and he says because this part is there's no one here.
It's abandoned.
It's abandoned, part of Gotham. So it's like, oh, cool. So Batman's staying by what he was saying. He's saying, and then someone else said that the car chase or whatever killed a bunch of people that Batman had.
Yeah.
Did it?
I don't know about that. I think it did. He was shooting. He was murdering. I mean, not murdering, but he was hurting people.
It was at night. It was basically buildings that got shit done. And it was like a yacht or whatever. And at that point, I'm just like, no one's working third shift in buildings like this. I think we're okay. That versus Avengers where no one says anything about it. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, that was broad daylight. I hate harping on other movies to bring this one up, but that's what critics are doing.
Yeah, they
so
are.
Fuck them.
And honestly, it's kind of a situation where Warner Brothers has kind of forced us to make a comparison because Marvel did start it, and then almost 10 years later, Warner Brothers trying to do their own movie universe after viewing Marvel's success.
So automatically, people are linking the two.
It's inviting comparisons. It has to be.
So then, because of comparison, you're like, well, this is so much better. So this is utter shit.
Exactly.
No. That's not it at all. Age of Ultron is an okay movie.
It's very okay.
This is a great movie.
I liked this a lot more.
Way better.
I think that this is actually probably. You could make an argument and say that's as flawed as Age of Ultron based on just kind of the Justice League stuff, some of the editing, the sound, little things like that.
Yeah, but if you took out that one scene where Thor's in the dumb water, that was completely unnecessary.
Well, I think that it was so much more ambitious, and it was what you're presented with in Batman Superman is
a vision,
a total vision, and it's something that you can tell they worked hard on it, and you can, as long as you open yourself up, as long as you are open to it, you need to understand that it's someone else's vision.
Do you feel like humor distracts people from how bad a movie can be? Because Age of Ultron, there's a lot of laughs.
There's
in there.
a lot.
I laughed a lot.
That did compensate for a lot of the issues I had with it, because they were going back and forth, and it was easier to ignore some of the overly CG moments or some of the fast-paced action where you're not really sure what you're looking at because it's all loud and bright. And
bangy.
like
the first scene.
Yeah, I mean, I would say more so the ending scene when all those robots are coming out of the woodwork and they're getting killed left and right. They're just exploding, and you're like, who cares about any of this? This is all my brain cannot process how fake this is right now because there's so many of them and there's nothing realistic about any of this.
Yeah, and you have people that can easily die who are quote unquote heroes. Dude, that it's like you're versing a robot.
Yeah,
it's just it's
less personal. It
calls for a big willful suspension of disbelief.
Which, I mean, to be fair, all superhero movies are like that.
For sure.
But nonetheless, you gotta throw a little realism in there just to kind of balance it out.
Yeah, and then you tout it again. Tout a word that works here.
I think so.
You put them against each other.
Yeah.
So, but then, dude, it just bums me out so much that the critics shit so much on this movie, and that makes me like it more. Well, it's like you guys are wrong.
I do want to mention real quick the comparison to Age of Ultron and Man of Steel. So in Man of Steel, all the buildings are exploding. I mean, they mention in the new movie how thousands of people died in those events. And everyone was all pissed off about that when Man of Steel came out and how they were all dying. And it's like, that's not what Superman's about. But it's really funny to me that in Batman vs. Superman, they actually mention that they're in an abandoned part of town. Yeah. And people are still bitching about it. They're like, really they had to go out of their way to mention that it's abandoned.
Oh, almost like they did in Age of Ultron.
Yeah, so it's
interesting.
I just don't think that counts as a criticism. I mean...
It's not a criticism. I actually was like, oh, okay, that explains that then.
And it does because, I mean, it was filmed in Detroit. And if you think about it...
Lots of stuff, think
about, the poor section of Gotham... And it looks like Detroit, and you can totally suspend your disbelief and be like, yeah, I can see how that's probably abandoned
for sure
there, in that little square block.
For sure.
I do think it's kind of funny, though, that Zack Snyder doubled down on the grimness of the universe.
He did, and he committed.
He did commit, but then out of all the things that he heard from his audience, it was, don't kill as many people this one time. I think that's kind of funny. It
is pretty funny.
Not a knock against the movie. I still thought it was great, but it was one of those weird things that was a bit inconsistent.
No, that's true. But I mean,
But it's one of those things where it's like, it's a movie, you know? If it's... if there's more good...
Do you even think it was because of that's what he took away from fans, or that's because that's the motivation that Batman had?
I mean, I love how complicated you can get when you talked about this, because
Exactly.
like you mentioning
this
that
this is a movie totally worth taking apart and actually looking at. And
there's so much to like. This is I think that counts as a good movie, like especially if we're talking this much about the character actions and things like that. Batman. It seems like a Batman move to try and get it away from a populated city. So I mean, that's like a perfect explanation, and yet people are still angry about it. So I think maybe they're angry because. If he's killing people, babies. Well, I mean, if he's killing people and yet he's concerned about people's lives and I know that they'd be innocent people, they're maybe trying to figure out where Batman draws the line in this universe. I guess, like,
I think he. Well,
and I'm talking about comic book fans' interpretation of his motivation, because, like,
I
don't care about whether or not he kills people or saves people.
Okay, so if we are analyzing that, go back to the comics and see in the older comics when he's older, which that's what this is. He's older. He is. Robin has died. Did he kill people in the older comics when he was older?
I mean, if you're talking about like Dark Knight Returns, I really couldn't tell you. I'm pretty sure he gets violent. I know that much. Like, that's a violent comic book series.
Yeah, so he's branding people in this movie.
Yeah, and
it's violent.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where there is definitely precedent of him having done similar acts in the comics. Yeah. In any version at some point, like, it just happened. And they're trying to build a new world that, here's another thing about this world building. They're trying to, anytime you're making a movie, and an easy one to compare it to would be like the James Bond film series.
Yeah.
Anytime a James Bond movie is made, it is a reflection of the time.
For sure.
And it's not just like in the style, in the clothing, and the things like that. It's more about like the themes that are reflected, like politically, like there's a lot of Cold War things going on in earlier James Bond movies.
Absolutely.
And so, you watch the Batman movies, and right now, like, shit's really messed up around the world. And you see Batman dressed kind of like a soldier for fortune.
Dude, it has been that way for easily 30 years.
Yeah.
Like, that is what our movies are reflected for. And I mean, this is a slight diversion, but this is, like, we saw all the trailers for the movies that were coming up.
I do, yeah.
And they were all either about saving the world, the real heroes,
like the rebels rising, and
superhero stuff too.
Yeah, there were it's three
always
superhero movies. I almost want to make a whole episode about strictly that. That's why I didn't look up too much information about the trailers we saw, because like, seriously, they were hilarious. In fact, I do want to we should touch on that, because like, watching the trailers leading up into Batman vs. Superman made me more scared for Batman vs. Superman.
That's a good point.
I started realizing that superhero fatigue is starting to set in based on the amount of trailers I saw. I was like, oh my god, I can see why people might not be into this.
Because the hero movies we had were Suicide Squad.
Yep, and then we had
X-Men Apocalypse.
Yep.
And Ghostbusters, if you want to count that.
Yeah, if you want to count that. And I think...
Which is also New York getting destroyed by... ghosts.
Yeah,
but,
exactly. But it's funny. It's a comedy.
It's
it stars
comedy,
Melissa
so
McCarthy,
it's,
so it's fine.
Yeah, as if people dying in comedies isn't fucking sad. Yeah. It's like, pick. What do you? Is it because this movie's so dark? Is that the reason?
That means that the movie did its job, because it's supposed to raise these questions of morality. I mean, one of the main plot points is Superman and Lois Lane like having issues because he saved her life at the expense of like hundreds of others. And
but the thing is, so I'm a little confused on that. Okay. So they are accusing Superman of killing all these people in this village.
Yeah, I mean in Metropolis.
Oh yeah. No, when he went to the village in Africa, Nairobi.
Yeah, I mean,
accused of killing that one guy, or him going through huts and killing people.
No, they're talking about in Man of Steel he saves...
Oh, I understand that.
Okay.
But, like, there was the whole bullet thing. Do you remember that?
I vaguely remember that. It's the
basically opening scene of introducing Lois Lane.
Yeah.
So she goes there to get a story, and then it's CIA double thing or whatever.
Right.
And then Lex Luthor had hired the Russians to do the assassination on them to frame Superman for.
Right.
So why would they think that Superman would kill people in that hut? Because that one woman was testifying to the senator.
Yeah.
I really paid attention to this movie.
Yeah, I need to see it again because
Yeah,
I
let's
was
see it
more
again.
in awe. And I mean, it's one of those movies that, like,
I was talking to a friend of mine. He said the first hour was boring.
No,
I was
actually-
like, no, I think I completely disagree.
Yeah.
Like, I think the first hour was actually really
I
fascinating.
thought it was a great setup for the world that they were doing.
I think so too.
Especially with like just the Lois Lane stuff
Mm-hmm.
and a couple of the other, like Superman saving. I think that this was in that first hour when the Mexican factory is on fire and he saves
Yeah, and he
the
saves
people.
that. Yeah.
It built up this idea that he is realizing that he himself feels like he's a human, but everyone else is like, this is a
Mm-hmm. He's
total
a
god.
Yep.
And I thought I really liked that. I thought that was
Yeah,
cool.
it
I
was
don't care
good.
that it's humorless, quote unquote. Like, I don't care about that. Like, that's
I
not the
smiled
point.
when he got in the bathtub with
Yeah.
Amy Adams. I was like, that's cute.
See, he
like,
does
there's still some
things-
humility to this movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, so the bullet thing.
Okay,
the
yeah,
little,
please
she has,
inform me on
She
this.
has the little bag with the bullet in it,
Which was
which was made by LexCorp.
right.
So she has the bullet because it was in her book that got shot when it was on the ground
Okay.
outside of that
The
little hut.
right before Superman came to rescue her.
Yes. Now, they're accusing Superman of killing people in that village, correct?
You mean the people in the movie?
Yeah. Because, why is she trying to acquit him of the crime with the bullet? I mean, why does it even matter at that point?
I really think that they are still referring to events of Man of Steel.
I know they're
And then-
doing that, too.
But I think that the bullet is completely separate, and it's like that's like Lois Lane's plot, and it doesn't have anything to do with Superman.
Why did she care, though?
About the bullet?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe she really did think that.
Superman did it?
No, not that Superman did it, but that it was the key to finding out who was funding the Russians and the acts of terrorism.
But was she the acts of terrorism?
I mean, weren't there must have been, because she was kidnapped by a terrorist leader.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not saying that they were shown directly on screen.
That's definitely something that is a little muddled.
Yeah, I mean, it's one
I'd
of those
like to
things-
see it again
Well, it's one of those things where
to set up other stuff in the movie.
it's not even that. It's like movies are made to be rewatched.
For sure.
I don't want it spoon-fed to me. It's like if you watch
sure.
Gone Girl.
I haven't.
Okay, I won't ruin it for you. And I mean, there are plenty of other movies where like you're watching it, and you might not. Star Wars: The Force Awakens is a good example of this.
For sure.
People say that they skipped over a lot of like story points.
I saw it 3 times. It's all there.
Yeah, well, it is all there. Especially if you watch it over and over again. There are like these little lines that people say that you understand more, and you're like, oh, okay, I see what
For
they're
sure.
saying. And it's like, it's fine that you don't get it immediately because movies are made to be rewatched.
Yeah. I'm sorry you little nerds were grubby with your fucking popcorn and gummy bears while you were missing plot points that explain stuff. but,
Exactly.
Yeah, I want to see it again.
I mean, yeah, I think it'll be good. One of the things that I was
live tweeting it. It sucks. Maybe you weren't paying attention, you dummy.
I was paying attention to how terrible it was because of the things that happened. I don't know. I mean, people were comparing it to Batman and Robin. I mean, it was like one of those like end-all be-all terrible movies.
I didn't hear that. That is... How?
I think just in the sense that like, okay, so the Lego Batman movie is coming out.
Yeah.
And if you do see the new Batman movie, they're going to show a preview for this Lego Batman movie. Same studio.
Which was great.
It did look really funny. But the title card said like from the studio that brought you Batman, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, Batman, it goes, and Batman Robin
Batman
goes on
Begins,
and on.
The Dark Knight Rises.
And then it ends
Dawn-
with Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice.
yeah.
And I remember like reading comments online about how, wow, they actually put Batman v Superman in there. Like that's
Yeah, it's the
and
same
then
studio,
comparing
you
it to,
fucker.
Exactly, and they were
God.
comparing it to Batman and Robin because of that. And I was like, guys, like, you're being dicks. I mean,
They are though. They're. I don't know what the mentality is of people who are just trying to find something to shit on.
Yeah.
Like you're treating this like it's Paranormal Activity fucking 6.
It's cool to bash this movie. That's what it feels like.
It's not a bad movie to bash though.
It's not. I don't think. No.
Pick a shit movie. I mean, what's the worst movie you've ever seen?
Oh my god. I mean, Jaws: The Revenge is awful.
Critics are treating it like it's Jaws 3.
Yeah, they kind of are. They are.
Like it's not even close.
It's
to
not.
that bad.
And it's like that's a great comparison because they're
Well,
both sequels. They're both big franchise.
They're treating
movies.
it like no. I'd say Jaws. Yeah, Jaws 3.
Yeah.
Like imagine Jaws 2 didn't happen and you just jumped to Jaws 3. They're treating.
No, think of Jaws 2 as Man of Steel and Jaws 3 as Batman versus
What's the
Superman.
first Jaws?
That would be Dark Knight.
So they're treating. Okay,
Really think about it, because like Dark Knight, hugely well received. Jaws, well received. Jaws 2, it wasn't well received, but it wasn't like really shat on either.
Yeah.
And that was Man of Steel, which was very mixed reviews. I mean, that's like a 59% almost fresh movie. Like, people kind of liked it, people kind of didn't like it.
Well, they're treating it like, let's say Jaws 2 was the first one in this series. So they're treating it like this is such a shitty movie compared to the other movie that was amazing.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, that wasn't amazing. That was still really okay.
Yeah.
And this one is like, I'd say it's better than Man of Steel.
I think it's way better than Man of Steel.
Way better than Man of Steel. And everyone's saying it's fucking worse. I'm like, what movie did you guys watch?
I feel like Batman vs. Superman is actually more of a Zack Snyder movie than Man of Steel was, and I think it's better for it. Like, there were scenes that were so, like something that would have been ripped from the headlines if it were real, that it was like... It really struck me. Like, it really stood out to me. Like, when Superman would, like, descend into a crowd, or, like, when
people were on the roof, and then they had the Superman logo.
Exactly. Stuff like that, you're just, like, in it just meshes so well with that world that they built, and you're like, wow, like, that's crazy.
I think another reason people might hate this movie and Man of Steel is because there is the whole God, Savior,
like thematic
theme.
similarity.
Yeah, theme. And it's like, it's very heavy-handed, but I think people in this generation really hate religion. Like,
yeah, it's true. I mean,
so
people are walking
therefore
away
they're
from the
really
church.
turned off from that being in their movies. And it's like, yeah, but you need to still accept that that's a story. I think that really turns people off too when they see it.
I can see that, and I did read an article about Man of Steel having multiple layers of meaning. So, like, one was, like, Jesus, like, Superman being like Jesus, because he's, like, the same age, you know, he's performing miracles, he's, like, a god. Yeah. And then there were other things, like his immigration status. And there's even a third thing, and I don't remember it right now, but the article that I read was suggesting that Batman vs. Superman was superior because it shed all of the other... themes from Man of Steel and focus strictly on the God plotline, and like you can see,
there's still slightly stuff about the immigration.
That's true, but it's much more like
in the background.
Yeah, it's like you see that in like a visual sense. I would say like when like Superman's expressions when he's like saving people, especially, and seeing how people view him differently.
Yeah, but
I think that's much more an internal thing for him, and externally, what we're seeing, it's much more about the God status that he has.
Yeah.
And because the article I read was suggesting that made it better because they just chose one. And I think I really enjoyed that because there was a lot going on in Batman vs. Superman. So to focus on that, to give it like the thing that moves the train going.
Did you remember that one scene where he's walking into the court and then he grabs the door and pushes it and then goes through it?
I don't remember that.
It's in a courtroom where you
I remember
the separating
all
thing,
that stuff.
But they did like a little subtle him grabbing the door and opening it slowly and carefully, and in my head I was like, he's so human.
Yeah,
like he's trying to be a human in this atmosphere. This is, and then also the point where it's when they all three of them shake hands, Clark Kent, Bruce Wayne, and Lex.
Yeah,
and then it shows like him shaking Batman's hand. And then it like cuts to the scene from the trailer where he shakes Superman's hand, and you can hear like, not hear it, but like he's doing the acting, and then he hits him on the chest.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's hitting like a fucking
tank.
A wall.
Yeah.
Like it's such a
So there's like a lot of subtle things.
Subtlety.
That is showing Clark feeling more human than feeling more godlike.
For sure. It's so fascinating to me to see that there's like a lot of subtlety in a very brash film.
Yeah.
Where people are like, oh, it's so over the top. Really? Maybe in the fight scenes where it's fucking supposed to be. But then when you actually have human moments, it's pretty subtle. And it's really well done.
See...
we've been talking about this movie for so long, and like I think it's only heightening both of our appreciation for it.
It is for me. I mean, I
want to see it.
I didn't. I like looking back on it. I didn't notice that there were so many moments like that. Like I really want to see it again because they must have been thinking about that throughout the movie. Like, what would Superman do? Like, what his actions? They're trying to get his actions to explain more about his feelings and things like that.
At first, I didn't know if I liked the idea that it was Superman or Batman versus Superman because this is supposed to be a Superman movie, like in the Superman canon. And then I'm like, it's still totally Superman's movie.
I mean, I think it's
both of them balanced.
It
but
is.
for sure.
That's how I
mean,
feel. I'd say if anything, it's more Bruce Wayne's movie. To be
Interesting.
completely honest, I mean, it shows him doing more.
that
It
is
shows
true.
him, like figuring things out, working with Wonder Woman, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And Superman is kind of like he's getting blamed for things, and he's dealing with the fallout of Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's very balanced, but I think that there's more of a tilt to Bruce Wayne, especially to set up Justice League. They're
That is a
trying to
good
like
point,
really make
yeah.
sure people know him. But I feel like there's one thing I really wanted to quick say about. This is what it was when the Senate hearing blows up. And eventually in the movie you see protesters like suggesting maybe Superman did it.
Yeah.
And it's not a huge plot point, but it is like a cool idea. And
It's enough that they think he's a terrorist.
And
yeah.
I remember, like, that's another thing I've read online. Like, how could anyone think that he did that? I'm like, guys, have you seen our culture? Like, there are always people like 9/11 was an inside job. Like, there are always going to be people on the opposite side of the issue.
Yeah.
So it would be only natural that they would think Superman would have been involved somehow, especially if there are people who don't support him already. So
I don't know. I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too. It sucks seeing Ben Affleck in interviews. Like,
Yeah, he's so bummed out.
he is. You can tell he's bummed out, and he shouldn't be because they went out there and they went for it. And even if it is poorly received by critics, who cares because you tried? Like, you can tell
Well, it's still making a ton of money.
And yeah, but even beside that, like, it's a movie where you can tell that they tried. It's like The Room. If you watch The Room,
It's
Tommy
not at
Wiseau's The
all
Room.
like The Room.
No, it is. Like, think about this. I mean, this is like almost
Oh, hi, Mark.
like that's a vision. Like, that guy had a vision, and everything that is in that movie is exactly how only one person could do. Like, he threw his heart and soul on that screen, and it's not good, but it's enjoyable. Batman vs Superman, I do think is good and it is enjoyable, but it's just like they hired someone and Batman, like Ben Affleck, that he was like, this is gonna be awesome. Like, Zack seems like a really cool dude. I'm excited for this, and then it comes out and everyone's shitting on it. He's like, but didn't you watch it? Like, it was pretty cool,
pretty
right?
good.
Like, there were some crazy flourishes of like amazing cinematic achievement, right? And I really understand why people don't like it, because
I do too. I understand the plight of you guys not understanding it.
well, it's not even understanding. Like,
I know,
I
I'm
know you're,
joking.
but like some of the things, like there were some parts that I thought could be heavily reworked.
Absolutely agreed.
I really want to talk about the ending at the very end of the movie. For those who haven't seen it and are this far and don't care about spoilers, Batman decides not to kill Superman because Superman's mother is in danger. And Superman and Batman's mothers...
the number one part about it is that they have the same name.
Which I'm okay with. I think
that's-
that is a interesting coincidence in comic book lore that worked very positively for the themes and like the understanding of Batman.
But apparently it's something that is in the comics that is not like that big of a deal, so therefore nerds are like, no, it wasn't even.
And I think it worked well because at the beginning of the movie it showed... The beginning of the movie is just credits, and it's like its own mini-movie about how Batman's parents died. And so... and at the end of the movie, when Batman's about to kill Superman, Superman's like, no, they're gonna kill Martha. And like Batman freaks out, and he's like, how do you know that name? What does that name mean? And Lois Lane explains, hey, it's his mother, like, calm down, bro. And Batman immediately becomes friends with Superman after that.
Yeah.
What they really needed to do was, he just says, I'm going to help her because she's innocent, and that's my main priority, and I don't want, like, someone to lose a mother. I get that. All that stuff is good. But he should have just said, this doesn't change anything between us. And then when Superman makes the ultimate sacrifice at the end of the movie, that would have officially proved to Batman that he was a good person.
Yes.
And it would have really limited that horrible, weird transition.
Yep.
And it would have made the ending more impactful with Superman being dead and all.
Totally agreed. If we could cut that, or not cut, but add that line.
Yep.
Where it's like, we're not friends.
Yep. And then
I like that.
And then cut out when he says, to Superman's mom, I'm a friend of your son's. It's like really misplaced.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah, it's like
you just had a really cool fight.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a really well done fight.
I liked all that stuff. Yeah. And I mean, like, the thing is, when it comes to things like that, which I do think that was a major
blow to the movie. It's like, guys,
Yeah.
like, that's so bad. I mean,
it's forced humor.
very forced.
Very forced.
And if they just trimmed stuff like that, it would have been way better. But because the movie is what it is, you kind of just have to accept it, because it is, like, in the end, it's like such an interesting movie that you really don't see very often, that you're able to overlook some of the smaller things like that.
Well, maybe we'll see it again and we won't really hate it that much.
I mean,
Well, didn't the same thing happen in The Dark Knight when oh my god, this just dawned on me. The Dark Knight does the same shit.
what do you mean?
Where it'll have like a really intense scene and then it's like completely alleviated by some weird humor.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember when the Joker throws Rachel out of the window and then Batman has to go after, and then they fall in the car, and then
She says you're late or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah. I don't remember exactly what she says, but yeah, they end the scene with a little
and I'm
humor.
like, and then it cuts immediately. I'm like, okay, well, the scene's still not resolved.
It's funny.
I get it, but at the same time, it's like that's a little thing that's in that movie that,
Dude,
it kind of takes you out of it.
The weird thing is, I think you could pick apart the Dark Knight if you really wanted to.
Absolutely, you could.
Like Jonathan Nolan and Christopher Nolan, who wrote the movie, they do not really have an ear for dialogue at all.
No.
If you watch any Christopher Nolan movie, and I would say specifically Interstellar, if you want a great example,
Yes.
his expository
For sure.
dialogue is so ridiculous and over the top. It is spoon fed to you multiple times. It's like
Yep.
it's like he's feeding you the entire cereal bowl instead of just a sip of it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh well, we did this and this and this. Do you understand now? Oh well, we did this and this. Do you understand? Are you
The
following?
part where they take the piece of paper and fold it and then put a pen through it.
Yeah.
You're like,
Oh, that's what it is?
Whoa.
Oh, I had no idea. Thank you.
I'm
from Wisconsin. I didn't get
This
it.
is great.
Oh, Brandon.
Oh wow, when they wake up Matt Damon and Matthew McConaughey says Lazarus, I get it, because he
Oh.
rose him from the dead.
Oh, yeah, I get it.
Because
Oh,
they
boy.
mentioned Lazarus earlier and how that was about raising from the dead.
They did. Happy Easter.
They did, yeah. So yeah, that's.
They should have just called him Jesus.
I mean, they might as well have. They have Ewan McGregor playing Jesus in a new movie, so apparently people don't care about whitewashing anymore.
Fucking Christ.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Let's see.
yeah, you can pick apart like all these movies pretty much.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I guess you could probably do it with any movie, but it's easier to do it with like a superhero movie that's
I think
well
it's-
liked or well
I think
disliked.
it's fun to do it with movies that people really like, because then I'm still hung up on the critic thing.
Well,
I'm still hung up on.
I
it.
mean, another good example, like Dark Knight Rises, of a movie that's critically adored, but I personally didn't
It's
like, or we
shit.
personally didn't like.
It's
I mean,
shit.
Star Trek Into Darkness got great reviews, but it's really not that good of a movie.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's like a step above Age of Ultron, I would say, like a very small step above that.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't a fan. Like, there was absolutely no dramatic tension in that movie for me, and it was like, come on. And I feel bad because I'm talking just like a fan when I'm talking about Star Trek Into Darkness. I'm talking like a fan of Batman who's disappointed in the new Batman movie. Because in Star Trek Into Darkness, when Kirk dies
Yeah.
and Spock races to save him, A, you know he's going to succeed. And B, this is only cool because of Star Trek 2 when the exact same thing happened but reversed. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm watching it like, this is stupid. Like, I don't care about this. And that must be how people feel about Batman versus Superman.
But there wasn't a moment in that was like that. There wasn't a fan service flip or something like. I mean, the only thing is that Superman is not dead.
There's that. Yeah, like that was the one I was going to mention.
But it was so well done, and it like the movie. You slightly see the dirt raised, and I was like, that was awesome. Like it didn't show him come out of the coffin. I really liked that.
I did like that, especially because at first I didn't like the opening credits because Zack Snyder loves doing that.
Yeah.
I guess he's only done it one more time in Watchmen, but at the same
was
time,
such a good scene. I want to watch Watchmen again.
yeah, me too.
I
do.
would watch the shit out of that right now.
But the thing in Batman vs Superman, as we said, so the credits are just Bruce Wayne's parents dying, and there's a funeral. And if you take that and watch Superman's funeral at the end, it's a great beginning and ending to a movie.
Perfect bookend.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's
And that's why I wish that...
It was so well done.
Yeah, like there was just some very minor things that could have been tweaked. And even besides that, though, it still should not have been shit on as much as it was. I mean, every movie of that caliber, of that size, is going to have some issues with like pacing. We should talk about the larger DC universe. Because whether you like it or not, like the fact that that exists definitely impacts the viewing of Batman versus Superman.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about Wonder Woman first. How about that? We'll start with Wonder Woman, because she's right there in the movie. I thought she was great. I loved it.
She was really good.
I loved her dialogue with Bruce Wayne at every time they talked. I thought was very revealing for both of them.
Which is very interesting because everyone touts. I keep saying touts. Everyone
See
touts.
what I'm saying about how in our podcast
Yeah,
we'll like,
we
get a
do say the
movie
same
and we
word.
just get on a. Not that that's a bad thing. I don't think it's just kind of weird how that works. Yeah,
That is very interesting.
Yeah, like what the hell? Podcast, man. Jeez.
All right.
Bringing out the worst in us. Okay.
But yeah, Wonder Woman. I mean, she only has like what 19 lines in the movie.
Yeah, you know, she's really not in it that much.
No. She has more keyboard clicks. Well, that's another thing too. Is like so when she gets. So what Bruce Wayne does is he gets he hacks into LexCorp.
Yep.
And gets all the information about like superheroes and stuff like that Lex Luthor has on file.
Yes.
I guess I don't know how he got this video, but I
Yep.
mean, you know, it's his cameras, right?
I mean, he hacked into it from. Well, like, hang on.
How does Lex Luthor have these videos?
Hang on. Let's think about this for a sec. Because do you remember Bruce Wayne goes into the party and takes
Yes.
all that data?
Yes.
But Wonder Woman takes it first.
Yeah, exactly.
So what is in those files? Because Bruce Wayne ends up sharing it with Wonder Woman, but she already had it first. Remember how she said she was only borrowing it and then
Well,
she
she
gave
couldn't
it back
get
to
it
him?
because it was decrypted.
That's what she
So
said.
Batman
That's right.
decrypts it and then sends it to her because she
Okay.
wanted the picture of her from 1918.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really.
And
See,
then,
that's cool. I
So
like that.
she
That's good.
must have known that he. Oh, she must not have known that he had the other superheroes on
Yeah,
there too. So
she
I want
only
to
was
know
after the
why
picture.
Lex Luthor had those. I want to know why he had the surveillance from some, store or whatever, and some files from the scientist. And
There's two ways to look at this. I think that they might look into it in Justice League.
Yeah, they
that's
could.
anybody's guess. But I also think you can establish for
surmise.
yourself. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he's obviously in touch with superheroes because he's so
sure.
against Superman. So he's trying to keep tabs on other happenings.
keeping tabs.
Exactly.
Okay, all right. So,
So
it's like Heroes, basically, where
yeah.
the TV show.
I've never
Heroes.
seen
It's really
Heroes.
good until season 2. So
I heard,
season 1's
yeah,
really good.
Even the newest season I heard was pretty bad.
I haven't seen it.
Reborn? Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
I don't know. It's supposed to be bad.
So back to
So Wonder Woman opening the emails.
So she opens the email. She sees that there's a guy that we know as the audience is Aquaman.
Yep.
We see a guy that we know as
the Flash
Cyborg,
and Cyborg,
and
yeah.
it does show the thing of
It
the
does,
Flash.
yep.
And we also see the Flash earlier when he comes to Batman in a dream, where he shows him an alternate universe. Apparently,
Yes. So
Do you want to go into that?
we can talk about that. Let's talk about that in a quick second. I want to finish off Wonder Woman's email thing.
Okay,
Because I think
yeah.
that's one of the major issues people are having with
Yeah,
it. Is that
is super shoehorned
it
in.
is. And I don't think it was. I mean, it's glaringly obvious that
Yes.
it belongs in a different movie.
Completely, because you have all. We're building up so much to the action of beating Doomsday because
Yeah.
we just had the big fight between Batman and Superman.
No, I don't think that had happened yet.
that had happened.
It did. Okay.
Because when she's seeing all this, she had just watched the. Hold on, shit.
Well,
I want to see it again.
well, my thing is, I thought
she saw that stuff, and then she got on a plane. And then on the plane, she saw that Doomsday was wreaking
Yes,
havoc.
that's what happened.
But I think the editing was like a twist in editing would have been cool too, like changing the sequences and stuff like that. Because we didn't need her opening that and looking at those other emails.
But here's the thing about that. Like, it would have worked better. Like, you did not need that at all.
No.
It's true. But at the same time, they are making a movie to fit into a DC universe.
for sure.
So
with that director's cut, I think that it'll actually fit into this movie. I think it'll be interesting.
I want to know how critics interpret scenes like that. Like, does that kill movies for critics when they're watching it and they're like, dude, that's like, hopefully we can do that with Batman versus Superman because
I wish.
It was so much better than its reputation suggests.
I went in with a 0% in my mind, and it was.
It was a solid-
I give it a 70.
I would give it a 7 out of 10. I
7
can
out of
totally
10.
see that. I would probably do the same
7
thing.
out of 10.
I would say 3 out of 4 because I like to do out of 4 more than anything.
Oh, okay. I do by 10.
See,
it gives you a little bit more leeway.
I like the 4 because it does force you to choose a little bit more. I would
do you
say
go halves?
I would do halves, yeah.
Okay.
I would say it was borderline 2.5 to be completely honest, but the audacity of it, like the fact that it was so singular in its vision, made me up it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it was like, you could tell. I mean, like Tim Burton had a vision for Batman. Christopher Nolan had a vision for Batman. Joel Schumacher, unfortunately, had a vision for Batman.
He did.
And Zack Snyder, like, it's a new interpretation, and it's just like, just a different idea of him. And I just enjoyed it. Like, I
think he did a really good job of actually blending the two worlds of Superman and Batman, because it is the same world, but at the same time, it's like you can tell the difference between the two. It was very well done.
Yep, I liked how comic booky it was.
Yeah,
like some
I
of the
agree with
action
that.
scenes. There was the scene where Batman was in the there's a scene in the movie where Batman is hiding in the ceiling corner of
Yes,
a warehouse,
yeah.
and you don't realize it's there until someone flashes a flashlight there, and you just see this outline of like a shadow almost. And he races out of there by bouncing around the ceilings and exiting through a hole in the ceiling. And you could tell it was CG, and obviously, like, no human could do those moves. And yet, the way that they had established that universe, and
It
the
looked
way
fucking
it
cool.
was great. Like, especially because in a lot of scenes, that's Ben Affleck beating the shit out of people. Like, you
Yeah.
can tell there are scenes where it's CG, but there are scenes where he's like really going ham.
Yep.
In fact, that brings us around a little bit.
To Wonder Woman, because we weren't done with that.
No, we weren't done with that. I was going to talk about the Flash. Being in
Oh,
Bruce
yeah,
Wayne's.
yeah.
So we kind of talked about DC Universe already, right? We can probably go back to that. So that scene was clunky, but at the same time, as I said, it's
Where she clicked on the emails and everything in the videos.
and there were people talking about how could Lex have logos on each of the videos, and that is something that I'm like, okay,
You're picking apart the wrong shit, idiots.
Not to mention, he's the kind of guy who would totally do that.
For sure.
Like, I can totally see him making a little lightning bolt for the Flash. Like,
People are stupid.
that's all he does is, like, he's all up in his own head doing a ton of different stuff.
I mean, also, maybe that's for us, too, on, like, a director's or editor's stand, but who gives a fuck? That is the last thing you should talk about in this scene.
I know.
If you're talking about this scene, you should say, this scene doesn't need to be here. Move it,
Dude.
Or earlier, you could easily break up the fight. Like, you put this before the fight with Batman and Superman even begins. Throw that earlier in the movie, so it doesn't look like you're cramming it all into the fucking end of the movie. Throw this in. That would actually a little bit of re-editing. That's all I ask for. Not there's logos on the videos.
Well, let's pick this scene apart just a little bit further
Let's do
because
it.
I have read about this as well, and I did notice it myself, but it didn't bother me too much. And that was that when she was scrolling through the email, each line of the email, she would scroll and just read a line, and it looked like a texting conversation as opposed to like
I
who
did
reads
notice
an
that
email
too.
like that?
I did notice that too. It was
the dramatic tension.
And
because it is a comic book movie, and because they had established that Batman can be a CG character, and yet it still seems realistic, I'm totally okay with them doing stuff like this.
You could see that. If it was a comic book panel, that would be each panel.
Exactly. Like,
So
if this existed in the Dark Knight universe, like the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight universe, she probably would have scrolled all the way down and read it.
She would have scrolled all the way down, and there would have been a voiceover reading it.
Exactly.
It would have been Alfred.
Yeah, exactly. And then overly, you're like, okay, I get it.
Master Wayne.
And then someone would have snuck up behind you with a mallet and beat you over the head with it.
No, I don't think that would have happened.
No, I feel like there'd definitely be someone like, do you fucking get it now?
Oh, I get it. What you're saying? There'd have Christopher Nolan behind you while you're watching someone read what's in the movie.
Alfred held the note from Rachel, and he's telling Batman about it. Do you get it?
Good choice, Nolan.
God. So we're keeping in touch with
Woman,
the
Aquaman.
DC universe. Okay, so let's get into the Flash's appearance in Batman's dreams.
Yes.
Because if we're talking about how the movie relates to the DC universe, we have to talk about Batman's nightmares. They're being dubbed nightmares, which I think are really funny. Night with a K in front. I think it's funny. I mean,
It's pretty clever.
It's
All right.
it's way too clever for its own good.
Yeah, that's more. You would see that in the Marvel universe, but whatever.
Yeah, so in the movie, Batman has a dream within a dream, and in the first dream, he's like in a desert, and he is dressed up in like a trench coat. I thought this was all very cool. By the way,
It was really cool.
It was cool to see him.
I really liked this
Yeah,
scene.
like I liked how he had his outfit on, but it was, and people weren't afraid of him. It was like his exploration gear or something.
Did you notice the Superman patches on everybody?
You know, I didn't, but
that was really cool.
I heard about that. Like, I read about that. I was like, dang, that's a cool detail.
That's actually the moment where I realized it was a dream. Because in my head, we're seeing this scene right after he starts decrypting the data. So it's like 1%, 2%, 3%, and then it flashes to the desert. So I'm like, oh, cool. This is like a jump cut. All right, cool. So he's going to get it from the desert because he intercepts it.
Yeah.
I was like, this is really cool. So then, as this fight's going on, I'm like, oh shit, this is like a completely different movie. And then I start seeing Superman patches.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a fucking awesome dream sequence.
Yeah, and, well, what's really cool is, like, it's one long fight scene.
Yes.
Like, it's him beating the shit out of a ton of people as the camera just moves around him, 300 style.
And then shooting people.
Yeah, and in that situation, again, we already stated it doesn't matter that Batman kills people in this universe. But
A, B, it's a dream sequence.
And
so
C, I mean, there's a ton of soldiers that are trying to, like, kill him.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, in this context, he looks like a soldier of fortune. I mean, he looks and kind of acts like it, and I'm totally okay with him taking a gun and trying to kill people because they're all swarming him. I mean, they overpower him, which was really cool too, because for the tone that they established, they're still keeping it realistic by showing that he can be overpowered by enough people.
Which is also could be a subconscious thing, like his subconscious is trying to tell him, like, Superman will overpower you.
Yeah.
Like, I like the idea that, like, what am I trying to say? I like the idea that this movie is, you can tell it was thought about.
Yes.
Because it's putting the ideas into the characters' heads, and even a dream sequence, too, subconsciously, for you to pick up on later. Like what I just said about the idea that, like, Superman could overpower you. Like, that's another thing to, talk about and think about.
Yeah, it's
that it's in Batman's head in this dream that you realize later upon discussion.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Because, you can look at it two ways where, like, so the Flash comes in the second dream, and he basically explains to Bruce Wayne that this is a possible future. It's like an alternate universe that could happen.
So that's what he's saying.
And he's warning him not to fight Superman, basically. And he even mentioned something about how, like, Lois Lane is the key, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is just, tantalizing information that's leading up to Justice League, of course. But at the same time, I thought that was fine for a couple of reasons. One was the dream sequence can be interpreted as a possible alternate reality and as something that Bruce Wayne ultimately fears. And I think the Flash appearing, oh my god. Oh, this is what people were saying about this, was that the Flash is able to travel through time, and he can go through different dimensions because he's that fast. But people were just angry that he could appear in a dream. That's because, like, they're saying that he doesn't have that ability. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, but I'm watching a movie called Batman vs. Superman, and if the Flash can run through fucking dimensions and travel through time, I'm sure they can explain a way for him to get into someone's subconscious dreams.
Yeah.
Like, why is that the issue that we're
I was actually, that moment, well, you know what? The reason I'm thinking that these things are shoehorned in is because I'm told that they are.
Yeah.
So when I do see something that looks like that, I'm thinking about that.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. If someone wouldn't have said it, I probably wouldn't have noticed. But I'm actually okay with the Flash being in that one scene. It's the email thing that I have such a problem with.
Yeah, I
That's
agree.
the one scene. I actually really enjoyed the Flash right there. If I wouldn't have seen anything Aquaman, if I wouldn't have seen anything Cyborg, and then another reference to the Flash, I'm like, we got the Flash. You didn't have to show us that video.
Yep.
I'm totally cool with all
agree.
those things.
I really do.
And then I think, just that chunk, edit it out. Or put somewhere else in the movie and don't show the second part of the email.
Yeah, someone suggested putting it at the end of the credits, but I know that Warner Brothers has, like, a statement
that they will never do that.
Because, like, they're already kind of aping Marvel's business plan. So they want to make it their own thing as much as they can.
Good for them.
And yeah, like, I'm fine with that. And if they had cut out Wonder Woman's scene, the Flash's appearance would have perfectly hinted at it, as well as...
We didn't need to see the second Flash scene, yeah.
Yeah, and Batman at the end talking with Wonder Woman, you can tell that they're, like, about to do something. And I think...
back to...
the dream sequence?
The alternate universe or whatever.
Yeah.
So Batman gets captured, and Superman comes down to that corridor or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the soldiers bow to him.
Yes.
Which is another, like, Batman's fear that he's godly.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't control this man, and he is gonna, get me. And then as he walks through, he lasers the other prisoners with his eyes, which is totally not going to happen.
Yeah.
And then he takes off Batman's mask, and then he says something to him, doesn't he? What does he say?
Oh, man, I don't remember.
I can't remember.
He does reference him, like, what are you doing here, Bruce, or something like that.
Yeah, he calls him by name.
Yeah, he calls him by name.
And that's another thing that he doesn't know. Like, Superman doesn't know that. So it's clearly a dream sequence. It's clearly subconscious. And it's also alternate universe, possibly.
Yeah.
And it's layer upon layer upon layer. And it's not so muddled like The Dark Knight Rises where it's confusing, like what the fuck's going on here. It's just like this is really fascinating. I want to see this again.
Yeah, that's what it felt like to me, because like
that's what this movie is.
I didn't get it, but I liked it. Like I was like, I'm interested. I'm invested. I especially liked all the the details you're talking about, like them bowing, the insignia, Superman insignia on their uniforms,
for sure.
And then also,
It's turning Superman in Bruce's mind into like a Hitler-esque kind of thing. It gives Batman fear. It's really fascinating. It's a very good character study.
Especially, the one thing I really liked also was when those like mosquito men came in.
Yeah.
Because that's one of those things that I feel like isn't talked about too much because there's so much other crazy stuff going on in the dream.
What are those things actually?
I don't know. I think
are they from the comics? Like
they are from the
comics.
They were
like Green Lantern shit. Or something.
I heard that they were a reference to a DC villain known as Darkseid, who is rumored to be the main villain of Justice League.
Oh, okay.
So
the mosquito men.
So that happened. I thought that was a really cool detail too, where it was like, what's going on? But I'm into this because they come out of nowhere, and you're just like, wait,
they really do.
What? What is this? And what I want to finish on is that the Flash appearing, it was really cool at setting up the DC universe, and also it was so comic booky, like that mixed with the mosquito men.
Yep.
You're watching it, and that's when shit is really getting crazy, and you're like, whoa, like this is not something I've seen before.
Yeah.
And it just. I really liked it. It was really cool foreshadowing for me.
Dude, it was. I had so much fun watching it. I really did. For as how dark it is, it's still fun as shit. Like,
yeah, like I mean,
it was good.
All the fight scenes are good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll say that. The one thing,
the Batman driving around the city.
Yeah, there's
chasing
a scene. Yeah, in the middle where Batman is using the Batmobile to chase people.
Yeah.
And
what was Superman doing there?
I don't remember. I think he ends up stopping Batman.
Yeah, he stops Batman, but why?
I think he stops him maybe because Superman doesn't like Batman being a vigilante.
No, he doesn't. But
so
how
maybe
would he
that's
know
why.
About it?
Well, what? Gotham is in this universe right across the river from Metropolis, which is another thing that people don't like, that they're like right next to each other.
I read that too. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, like I remember when I first saw it, I thought like this is weird, like that's not how this is, and then I was like, wait a minute, I don't care. It's a new universe.
Yeah.
In fact, if there's an argument to be made that it's really cool that they're right across the river from one another because it's like mirror images. You have Superman, Metropolis. Batman and Gotham.
It's Batman. Well, fucking, it would be if we're in New York, Metropolis is New York City, and Gotham is Brooklyn.
Exactly.
Fucking, we're done.
So
just let it go. God damn it! Everyone gets so hung up on this shit that doesn't matter.
Yeah, and it's like that stuff is forgiven. Like it's a new thing that they're trying to do. Like you cannot criticize something that goes against the comics because it's a movie. What I wanted to talk about next was the ending, and specifically the ending fight scene, because I think that it had a reliance on computer generated images, which makes sense. I mean, that's true in any big budget movie these days.
Yeah.
It's an unfortunate truth that we have to deal with. But I do think one of my criticisms would be it was a little too, like, a lot of people liked it, but for me it was very it was a little cartoony. It was like popping a little too much for me. Like it was like an overload, and I was watching it especially with the music blaring so much. It was like a sensory overload. And one of the things that also stood out for me was Doomsday's lack of genitalia.
I didn't even notice.
See, like, it's not that I noticed it. It's that, like, I mean, it was that I noticed it. But I mean, they've created this genetic hybrid monster, and he bursts out of the womb looking like an action figure, basically.
Well, maybe Lex Luthor doesn't have a dick or penis. Or, balls. Dick or penis, yeah. There's two of them.
Like, I mean, obviously I can always suspend my disbelief. And you can always say, it is a weird hybrid. He's just this thing, this amalgamation of DNA, whatever. but he's prancing around, and it makes him look very doll-like. And I wish there was an organic way to give him like clothes or to make it less like that, like because the way that they have it looks like a rock monster, and he has no definition because of that. It makes it look more fake for me because they have like all this very grim stuff going on, and
See, I thought he looked really realistic when he was standing next to the statue.
I would agree with that. I think there were shots where he looked great. It's just that in the full body shots, he looked a little...
On the news, like when it showed on the news, when he's like standing on LexCorp tower or whatever.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, that's pretty fake.
It's just weird to see a creature without any anatomical features beyond like sharp teeth. I mean, and I don't even think that's a weird thing. I think that... Like, that's an issue with the Hulk, for example. Like,
because he's always got shorts on?
Yeah. I mean, that's a constant conversation. I mean, it's not a constant conversation, but you know that's a conversation with executives that he has to be wearing clothes.
Yeah.
And it works because he's a human that transforms...
Did it work for Abomination in Incredible Hulk?
It had to have.
Did he have clothes on?
He definitely had to have something. I mean, that's a good thing to look up because he was a human that transformed into a monster.
Yeah.
So at least... They're allowing the suggestion that, yeah, maybe he had pants on. Maybe he had extra strength pants on, and it just worked. At least there's an explanation there. Yeah. With this, there's no explanation. You're just kind of supposed to go with it. And you almost can suspend your disbelief because, obviously, it is a comic book movie, and the world that they have established, you can kind of get around stuff like that. But it just was one of those things where I was like, what could you do differently here?
Now that you brought it up. I didn't even notice it. Maybe he has like a tiny wiener.
Yeah, maybe it's like an Osama bin Laden dick.
Yeah.
You need like...
No wonder he's so mad.
Yeah. No wonder he wants doomsdays everywhere. Well, one doomsday, I guess. Okay, the music was scored by Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL, which I'm going to try to refrain from using because I hate calling him that.
Well, let's call him...
His real name is like Tom Volkenberg.
We'll call him Tom.
Let's call him Tom. Hans and Tom. I mean, they sound like a good
Hans and
duo.
Tom, we get to pump you up.
Yeah, I'm friends with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
You have to pump your soundtrack up.
We're going to put a lot of big drums in it. We're going to make them forceful. We're going to work out your eardrums. You're going to be walking out to destroy the induced eardrums. Going to be big.
All right.
Okay. Fuck that. Okay. So this movie,
Hans and Tom, I really liked your audio.
Let's think about this for a second because Hans Zimmer definitely can make a good film score.
For sure.
And Tom did Mad Max Fury Road, which had I thought, really great score.
Yeah.
And
two of them coming together. See...
And like they've worked before in the past. Like I believe Tom is a student more or less. Like he worked in the studio with Hans on multiple assignments, and that's how he kind of got a start in the industry. So you know that they're both talented, and I would say that when their music worked, it worked really well.
Well, I think they had. It's a good score. It's just used in weird times.
Yeah.
Or like dialogue will trigger it or something like that.
It's like overused.
It's just very, yeah. Because there's one scene specifically for me. It's when Lex Luthor is talking with the senator, who's played by Holly Hunter, and they're having a meeting.
Who's still beautiful at like 57.
Gorgeous.
I don't know how she's keeping up with it.
They're talking, and she rejects his request to get the kryptonite.
Right.
So then you can see him start to crack. Like, he starts to get, like, just pissed off. And then the moment he does, he starts talking about a painting that's behind her that should be upside down because the demons come from the sky and not from below.
Which was great.
Really good. But then, like, right before he said that, the drums and the weird score started to kick in, and it was way too fucking loud.
Yeah.
And it was, like, overpowering what he's saying, which I'm, like, trying to listen. I'm like, okay, I like what he's saying, but this is fucking distracting. Yeah. And then it showed the picture, and then I went to the next scene, and I was like, oh, you should have just used it in this next scene. It was, all right.
And I thought...
It was very strange.
I do think that the score was pretty much, like, ever present. Like, it was pretty much always there.
It was there, yeah.
And there are a couple things I want to say about this. First, when Bruce Wayne first finds Wonder Woman in the 1918 photo, that the drums were kicking
Her
in.
theme kicks in.
And it was, like, for me, it was too much.
Way too much.
And yet...
Way too much.
It's really interesting because...
Give a slight fade in.
Yeah,
like, you're just
something.
abrupt with it.
It felt like a punch to the face, and yet people in the online community which I know we've been talking about a lot
Yeah.
about, but it does kind
You're
of factor
talking
into the
about Reddit,
discussion.
right?
Yeah, I am. But they loved that. They were like, "This is cool." Like there were people
No.
who didn't like the movie who said that was pretty cool, and I was like, "That's so weird that you didn't like the movie," and yet I
That
think
takes it down a point for me, for sure.
like when Wonder Woman first appears at the battle scene at the very end, her theme kicks in again. There's like a little guitar riff that comes
Yeah.
in, and that was another part that a lot of people loved, and I was like, "This is like almost a little much."
Yeah.
For me. But my counter argument to that, if I can engage in argument
That
with
I remember
myself,
that actually when the guitar kicked in. That reminded me of it was like, what did Robert Rodriguez help with this?
Yeah,
score?
yeah, it was kinda
I
like,
was
what?
That's very out of place.
which I thought was so weird that people loved that part because it was like it's kind of like that's another thing that really just smashes you in the face.
Yep.
But what I
They're stupid.
yeah, but the thing is, and I really do want to see it again because there were moments where the score worked perfectly, like when Superman is standing in the Senate committee hearing, the burned out. I mean, it's like this beautiful score. He's just
Everyone's
standing there, and
dead,
there's
yep.
fire everywhere, and it was just really resonated well. And there are a lot of moments like that throughout the movie. And my thought is, okay, I'm trying to think of why Snyder would have done this, and part of it is it felt like a silent movie to me occasionally. Like there were like for example, there was a part where someone was yelling and they like just straight up cut out 2 lines of dialogue because you could tell what was happening based on the way the characters were interacting with each other and the direction of the music. They just cut out 2 lines of dialogue when it was at its most intense, and it reminded me, wait a minute. If you watch this whole movie with just the film score, like maybe the score is meant to be there all the time to really just emphasize the imagery.
Okay.
I mean, I was up a lot of last night just thinking about it. I mean, it really affected me. Like I enjoyed it. It was visceral. Like
Yeah.
it really hurt you. Even for all the bad of the movie, and there are definite flaws, it was still like such a monumental achievement, and it is like a landmark movie. I think one of the things that I have read about the movie is that the trailers gave away too much, and that impacted the viewing experience.
That's what I was afraid of, but it didn't for me.
I guess I've had that happen in movies before. I think a random but good example is in Men in Black 2. Will Smith has in the Men in Black series obviously is a little fantastical, and at one point in the series he has a fake driver driving the car. So like if you put it on autopilot, there's like this robot that comes out and drives the car, and it looks like a human. And there was this offhand joke where Tommy Lee Jones says something about the driver, and Will Smith says, "Yeah, I used to be a black guy, but he kept getting pulled over." And it was a joke, and it was funny.
Yeah, it's funny.
But it was used in all the previews so that when you finally saw the movie, the punchline landed way flat because it was like, oh my god. And
I've heard this 1,000 times, yeah.
yeah, and you remember it. And it is a movie where like it's been 15 years, and I don't watch it all the time, but when I do watch it, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember when they always said that, and it's like it's in my brain all the time. And I'm afraid of that happening with this movie because there are so many good lines of dialogue that they used for the trailer to amp it up.
I don't remember. The only thing I remember in the trailer was like the when he meets, or when Superman, like when, you know what I'm trying to say, when Lex Luthor is talking to Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne, and he like shakes their hand.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, wow, don't ever pick a fight with this guy.
Yeah.
That was fine. It was in the trailer.
You know what? I just realized, did he know they were Batman and Superman at that
For
point?
sure.
I didn't
Absolutely.
realize that. Oh my god.
He said that to Bruce Wayne. He was like, that's the reason he said, you don't want to pick a fight with this guy.
Yeah.
Like, Lex Luthor totally knew.
I
would also
just
explain
realized
why
that.
he has the videos
That's
of
awesome.
Aquaman. And
That is
now
so
I
awesome.
answered my own question. He's totally keeping tabs.
I never realized that. Because
Yeah.
like, that
And
did
then
seem a
he-
little ham-fisted,
he
and
also-
yet he's just
Oh
tongue-in-cheek
my god,
about
fuck.
it.
He had another line about, like, talking about doing, like, business ventures or whatever with Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And he's like, because I've been up to no good or something like
Yeah.
that. He's totally implanting the idea.
Yeah.
Fucking wow.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
I never
that really
realized
is
that either.
cool.
Because when he does say that stuff, it's kind of like, okay, we get it. Like we're watching a movie called
Yeah.
Batman vs Superman, but for him, it's something different.
Yeah, and then even when he meets, when Superman comes to the headquarters, he calls him Clark Kent because he fucking kidnapped his mom. Like, he has known
Yeah.
for a long time. He's just setting all this shit up. He is the Blofeld of this movie.
I do like. That's a sad comparison. I do like.
But we didn't have to have, oh, my name is actually Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun!
Like 2.5 hours well, the movie is 2.5 hours, but 2 hours in the movie, I'm Lex Luthor. Oh, okay, I get it.
Oh, cool. I wonder if that was fan service, wink wink.
Yeah. Well, if he knew everything, I do like about this universe, everyone just knows who everyone is. Like Lois Lane figured out who Superman was
In the
halfway
first
through
movie.
Man of Steel. I mean,
Yeah.
not even at the end. It was like halfway through. She's like, oh, I figured I'm a reporter and I figured this out. Like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
And in this one, Lex Luthor knew who everyone was, and I know that. I feel like there were a couple other instances of it kind of being a thing, but it's just kind of cool because it's like. It is real life, and it would be a lot easier to figure out who is who in this world
yeah.
of information sharing that we now inhabit.
I mean, everyone knows Tony Stark is Iron Man.
Exactly. Like it's cool. Like
Captain America is only Captain America.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have a real life, basically.
yeah. I mean, geez, Hawkeye. Everyone knows who
Hawkeye.
everyone is, and it's like we've reached a point in our superhero movies, in our superhero movie culture,
Yeah.
that we have done away with secret identities because people are sick of it. We're starting to do away with origin stories too because people are sick
Thank
of that too.
God.
So like you can tell we have entered a new phase of superhero movies
Yep.
in 2016. I mean it's been occurring since 2008 when Iron Man first said I am Iron Man.
Yeah.
But I remember watching that in the theater and thinking, how is that going to affect everything? And
It's fine.
yeah, this is exactly what
fine.
happened. I kind of thought he'd get in trouble or something, and instead, like, they definitely do talk about it, but
Yeah.
in a totally different direction than I
Well,
anticipated.
you know what happens? Civil War. I mean, it's happening right now. It's about to happen.
I mean, yeah, it's
Which will
finally
be way
coming to a
better.
head. It could be.
What if it's not good?
Wouldn't
Could
that
you
be really
imagine?
funny if Civil... I mean,
And then everyone gives that one a really good review. 100%.
yeah, we end up watching it being like, no, sorry, Batman Superman was better.
That would be really interesting.
I'd love that.
I mean, I'm sure we'll eat our words, but it would be very fascinating to me.
I mean, I do think it's going to be a great movie. I
think
mean,
so, too.
I have... But then again, I thought Batman vs. Superman would be a good movie. And then I read the reviews, thought it would be bad. And I also would like to just say real quick, I'm not saying that it is the greatest movie of all time. And I don't want to
No.
say that it doesn't have its flaws. And I know I've said this already, but I just want to make it clear that I just don't think it's a good idea to judge a movie of this magnitude as harshly and as quickly as a lot of people have.
For sure. There's a lot to actually marinate. Because
Yeah.
there is a lot in this movie.
Yeah,
There's a lot.
Like you said, I didn't even think about Lex Luthor knowing who everybody was
Yeah.
until just now, and that makes that scene way better in my
Yeah.
opinion.
I love when he's giving that speech and starts cracking, and he's just like,
Yeah.
there's no...
That's not what I'm
like,
talking
it's not
about.
what- power.
Yeah. I thought he did it. Like,
He was really good in it.
I do think one thing that everybody can agree on, who even those who didn't like the movie, is that the cast was pretty much perfect.
Yeah.
Eisenberg was great. Affleck was great. I love Superman. I thought everyone did a great job.
Jeremy Irons was great as Alfred.
I love Jeremy Irons.
Really
He was
good.
really good. It was good to see like a much more hands-on Alfred who's
Mm-hmm.
less judgmental and is more just there as like a father figure. Like Michael Caine was there as the father figure, but he was like
He was the grandfather figure.
yeah, he was like the respected guy, whereas Jeremy Irons is kind of like a sidekick almost, who's still like of an authority.
Yep.
So I really liked that. I liked how he was joking. Like there was still humor in it. I mean,
I laughed.
there were good,
Had a good time.
moments. It was like yeah, like that's definitely not a criticism of mine.
But yeah, the trailers.
So the trailers, back to the trailers, other lines of dialogue such as like, "Do you bleed? You will," or "The red capes are coming. The red capes are coming." There's a couple other ones. I mean, there are a lot of other ones actually.
Yeah.
Even Alfred saying like, "I guess I'll drop you off on the second floor." It's like they didn't ruin it for me, but I'm worried that it will 10 years from now. I don't want it to be the Men in Black 2 effect where I've like.
I don't think it will. I think this is a different kind of movie. I mean, for me, like those dialogue, I didn't watch the trailers a lot, so.
And I was obsessed. Like I really.
I think this
really
is a
wanted
new
to see it.
generation where people don't really have to watch trailers or TV spots because no one's really watching TV anymore.
That's true.
So I haven't seen any. I saw the one trailer, was pissed when I saw Doomsday and Wonder Woman and Batman and Superman teaming up.
Yeah.
And I was like, you literally just spoiled so much for me.
Yeah. Even like little.
And it still didn't ruin the movie.
I think there were other aspects of the movie that were more. That weren't as good and that could be focused on more so than trailers.
Yeah, for sure.
So in any case, I love that movies like this can invite so much discussion and so much peeling of that onion and seeing what's going on beneath everything else.
And there's a lot going on.
And there was, and I think that that's perfectly acceptable. And I think it gave you a lot to chew on, and that's what movies are supposed to do. Like, movies are supposed to make you think. You're supposed to reflect on them. You're not just supposed to see it and be like, that was good, and then see you later.
Bottom line, it's so exasperating.
It is.
It's something that clearly this movie impacted both of us. We're both defensive of it.
We are.
Because we really enjoyed it. Well, and then you have people that are shitting on it, and you're like, no, it's for the wrong reasons, though.
Well, one of the other things that I feel like people are focusing on is that you waited so long to finally see these people team up. I mean, they were going to make this movie a few years ago with George Miller, I believe. I don't know if it was him. He was going to do a Justice League movie for sure.
Okay.
And I know that they were going to do a Batman versus Superman because at the time I remember specifically that Josh Hartnett was in consideration for the role.
There was a thing in what movie was it?
I Am
Legend, where it was like Batman and Superman.
Yeah, like Warner Brothers owned the rights, of course, and since I Am Legend is set in the future, they thought it'd be a clever way to show how far in the future it was by putting a Batman versus Superman logo on a billboard in the I Am Legend world, which was a really good idea. I mean, it was 2007, it's 2016 now, so it kind of had so we're all vampires now.
I can only hope that happens in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, probably could still.
The last major movie that we saw in theaters was a movie that we all hated.
But I mean, so if you think about it,
that's what the human race deserves.
But if you think about it in that way, it's like there's so many different ways that it could have happened, and if it had happened in the mid 2000s, when there wasn't a universe to set up, maybe it would have been a more focused storyline, and maybe it would have been easier to understand. It wouldn't have been as dark because they wouldn't have Zack Snyder. They would have hired someone else. Like, there are just so many what ifs.
Agreed.
And because it's such a big franchise and such big characters, people are like thinking about those what ifs way too much.
For sure.
That's what it seems like to me.
It's like you got the movie you got, and for what it is, it's good.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
It's good.
And beyond that, it was trying to do something more than just be it's that.
Yeah.
And even though it didn't quite achieve it, because you can tell they were trying, it worked. So
I think when we get that 3-hour cut, it's going to be great.
Yep.
I think it'll enhance this movie because it'll actually enhance those things where, some things were lost. It'll add depth to those other characters. I think we have other scenes with Aquaman. They're probably editing that shit right now. Re-editing, adding, better music in, changing it up, doing exactly what we want because they're listening to this podcast right now.
Well, they didn't listen to any criticisms beforehand, so I doubt it's gonna. That's what I'm curious about. They obviously don't care about criticism for Man of Steel.
We're smart though; they're gonna listen to us.
Yeah, obviously. I think Zack Snyder actually subscribes to our show.
Do you have a favorite part?
Favorite part? I don't know. I think I do. The two parts that come to mind immediately are when Superman is standing in the blown out ruins of the Senate hearing committee due to the suicide bomber, because the music, that's the moment where the music works terrifically, and it just cues up, and it's like Superman is just standing in this burnt out ruin, and he's just looking around, and I thought that was beautiful. And then the other scene was when he was rescuing workers from the factory fire in Mexico, and they all just gather around trying to touch him, and he just looks around and he's just like, oh boy, this is kind of weird.
I'm a human, but they think I'm their god.
Yeah, I loved that. And the music, that's another situation where the music and the imagery really came together and was like, wow, what an interesting idea. So yeah, those were great.
I think my favorite moment is when it's in the diner that Diane Lane, his mom, works at, and then Nancy Grace is on the TV and she turns it off. That was my favorite.
I do remember that. That was good.
She was the only newscaster that she turned off in that whole movie.
Yep, that's funny.